The Perspective, where we come and talk about some of everything. It doesn't matter what it is, it doesn't matter how uncomfortable the subject is, it doesn't matter. We are here to discuss whatever it is. All right. Um, I want to wait till a few people just chime in. I don't care if it's even one person. I want to know if you're able to hear me. If you're able to hear me, please put a one in the chat. It's much appreciated if you can do that. There is probably a lag right now, so if the video, the podcast didn't come up on your page right now, just wait for a minute, talking to the guests, and it will be there. All right,
Yes, right here.
you got it.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Do me the favor if you could, ladies and gentlemen, do me the favor and please share the page. Please share the page. If you can like the page and share the page, it will be very much appreciated. As you see, the topic, the topic is, what do you really take from ICE? What's your take on ICE? All right. The protests, the shooting, whatever you want to discuss regarding this particular topic, you can feel free to do so. If you want to call in, I will have the number on the screen so that you can call in to express yourself regarding this topic. If you want to be a part of the panel, just let me know. If you're on Facebook, I can always send you a link. And all you do is tap that link and you get right on the screen with my guest that's here now. All right. You get right on the screen. So just let me know. Thank you for the one person that hit me up. They text me, let me know that the sound is good. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Perfect.
Yep. All right. So we're going to wait for about maybe 2 or 3 minutes. I want to chop it up with the young men that I have here right now. First, I got my man that was from Jersey City, but he got up out of here and moved to the sunny places and making it happen, relax and retired and all that good stuff. I want to welcome my man, Renez. Let's give Renez a round of applause.
Salute, salute.
Salute, my man. What's good with you, Renez? How you been?
I'm good, man. Living the dream.
Good. No doubt, no doubt. So, Renez, what you do, man? Tell the people what you do.
Right now I'm retired. I was a special education teacher for 23 years. Now I do poetry and just work on my land right now. We got like a nice little acre of land. We got a huge house, and we decided that we're going to do it by ourselves. So all my time is being spent doing that.
Yo, that's dope.
Yeah.
Dope, bro.
That's dope. Yeah, that's
Real
dope.
dope, bro. Like to hear a 50-something-year-old man say, "It's working on my land." Damn,
Working on my land.
Word up. All right.
I think we all want to be able to say that, man.
That's right.
One day, man.
Yep. Next up, I want to bring on my man. He goes by the name of Jeremiah. Thank you for coming through, Jeremiah. All the way out there in LA, correct?
Fresno. So it's the valley. So it's up north from LA.
Okay, cool. All right. What you do, my brother?
Well, recently I was managing some Walgreens stores, but now I moved on to something better. So I'm in the gym right now. So I'm working at the gym.
Word.
Just trying to get that fitness, taking advantage of the free membership too as well.
Word.
Yeah.
That's what's up. I ain't even mad at you. Real talk. All right. So we got a few people on just watching. I want you to know the 7 people that's here right now. If you could do me the favor, please share the page, like the page. We are going to try our best to get people to come on. So by liking the page and sharing it, you get the algorithm going so you can be a part of this discussion. And we're talking about the ICE situation. We're talking about the protests. We're talking about the shooting of the young lady, Miss Good. So feel free to be a part of it, okay? Thank you for chiming in. Okay, first, I want to just say thank you to these brothers for coming on, and I really appreciate it.
Of course.
I had a few
pleasure.
people that said they were going to come on. and they backed out. And that's how it goes sometimes. It's cool. But if you would like to come on, I'll send you a link, okay? For those that's here. All right. The first question I want to get into, I want to ask to these two brothers and the audience that's watching, what is ICE? What are their duties? What do they do? You know what I mean? For those who don't know, what is ICE? And I'm gonna take that question to my man Reneg right now.
Okay, well, ICE basically, its inception was in July 4th of 2025. So that's when they came about. They were passed through a bill that was called the Big Beautiful Bill Act by Donald Trump. It was an 800-page bill which incorporated many tax incentives and things of that nature, but also allocated the funds to create ICE. Um, he got away with, well, he circumvented the traditional way of doing it, to so he can get a majority vote in order to get in rather than the 61 that's supposed to happen. Um, so he ended up getting $75 billion set aside for ICE, and that's not counting the money that was already allocated to the DHS, right?
Right. Right.
Homeland Security.
Got you.
So it was 75,000, and I got a little breakdown of those dollars, which was 45 billion for detention and operations, enforcement and removal, 30 billion, and then unrestricted DHS monies, which equaled 10 million. Right, so 10 billion was already allocated for DHS.
Right.
So that's where we're at with ICE. ICE is just here for deportation. We already have an entity to guard our borders. So their specific mission is to run up in the towns and find undocumented persons and remove.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that answer, brother. And if you at home have an idea or information or knowledge, you can always put it on the comment board. Okay. How about you, my brother? Jeremiah.
Yeah, so from my knowledge, ICE was established around 2002, 2003 after
Right.
the September 11th attacks. I believe it was INS that handled the immigration beforehand, um, and which is pretty much the Immigration and Naturalization Services, and they handled usually that. But ICE is established now. More so, their job now is to, immigration and customs enforcement. So they enforce the laws of
Right.
immigration.
Okay. Okay. So Darrell just mentioned, I thought ICE was created back in 2003. I think I
Yeah.
also read that, right? Okay.
Yeah, but it's the funding that it has now was unheard of
Got it.
compared to the funding that was
Yeah,
received.
they definitely have way more funding now for sure. They have way more funding. They're able to do
Got it.
more. They're able to do more enforcement.
Mhm.
Got it. I want to welcome Tasha to the podcast. Thank you for chiming in, Tasha. Ellis, much love. Thank you for always chiming in. I appreciate you. Darrell, thank you for chiming in. Darrell said, let's go. Tasha said,
Let's
great topic.
go.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys for chiming in. And do me the favor, don't forget to pick up the Supreme Sunshine Shea Butter. You know what I mean? Really good for your skin, especially for those out in Puerto Rico and all that. You can just bathe in it. You know what I'm talking about? If you're retired and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
If
Word
you're
up,
working on your land, man.
yeah, word, word. Okay, so if anybody got any questions, you can put your question on the comment board. Okay, once again. All right, so I'm going to go ahead with some of the questions that I have here right now. And we're going to start with the first question, which will be, what is the goal? What's the goal of a protest in your view? Is it awareness, pressure, change, expression? What is the goal? I want you and the audience that's watching to tell us what's the goal. And I'm going to ask Jeremiah and Renez to tell me what should be the goal.
Okay. I would say personally, to influence policy and stuff, of course, you know what I mean, and power to where to delegate the power. I guess sometimes they feel like that the power shouldn't be delegated to this or that, so they want to do that. Also to for mobilization too as well. You know where things where things get handled, to raise awareness on a lot of topics. I would say for the most part, that's really what it comes down to. You know, some and then also too, obviously to shift public opinion too as well. You know, a
Okay.
lot of people, like I said, raise awareness. A lot of people aren't aware of things. So I mean, and there could also be a little bit of manipulation into that too as well. Like I said, to shift public opinion.
All right, Renez.
Well,
Same question.
I agree.
Mhm.
Um, Basically, protesting. As a Puerto Rican, I've been to a few with causes for the island. A well organized protest
Got it.
has basically a mission statement that goes along with it. It allows the people that will participate or want to participate to not know exactly what they're getting into. Um, and that is, as Jeremiah said, for acknowledgement, for change, and sometimes manipulate certain causes and things of that nature. So, um, what it's for and why it's done, it's different in every instant, right? It's going to be. It depends on the narrative. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
Got it. What happened, man, during this shooting? What happened? What's your take on the shooting of Miss Good and all this chaotic stuff that happened during this particular day? What's your perspective on what happened? Let's unpack that.
Definitely.
You want to go for it, brother Vanessa?
Go ahead, brother. I'm gonna step on toes.
Okay, there we go. Well, I would say what had happened. It's a simple case of the root of it is being indoctrinated, man. Honestly, I would say being indoctrinated by certain type of mindsets that are being pushed by. It's like a minority mindset. You know, a lot of these things, the majority of Americans. Um, I wouldn't say like a super majority of Americans go against it, but it's a majority nonetheless go against the type of mindset. To my knowledge and to my research, there's a lot of Democrats that also agree with what ICE is doing, but they just disagree about how they're going about it. So I would say the root that went wrong is the indoctrination by a woman. We see it in all shapes and forms of her, from her lifestyle to what she was engaging in extracurricularly, I guess you would say. Um, Even to, from her views, simply just moving to Canada when Trump was elected, specifically moving to Minnesota to aid these immigrants and stand against
Oh,
the
I didn't know
exposing of the fraud and
that. Okay.
stuff like that. And specifically Renee Good,
All right. So
to
let's go
down
back
to
to
the
that.
shape.
Let's go back to that day. And I like what you said as far as giving
Yeah.
us some information on that. But I want to go back to that day specifically, or what happened.
Okay. Yeah.
What happened in detail, as far as why did this happen? Let's start with
Okay.
the car, the truck, the
Okay.
pullover
There
or
we
whatever.
go.
She pulled over.
I didn't
I
know how far you wanted to.
got you. I got
Okay,
you.
but
I got you.
I just wanted to at least lay that backstory. You know what I
No,
mean?
no,
Because that is really important. We could have touched on that later. We could
got
we
you.
could expound
Okay,
upon it later too as
no
well.
doubt.
So as
That's
far as
fine.
specifically that day, to my knowledge and research, there were witnesses saying that she was actually part of the agitation of ICE that day. She was actually following them. I'm not sure exactly how long she was following ICE, or but there's a lot of witnesses saying that, I was really trying to get a solid source of if there are viable witnesses. You know what I mean? It's really early and hard to find that out right now, at least. But there's a lot of reports saying that. So that's pretty much what I'm going off of because, like I said, her lifestyle fits that narrative.
Got it.
Um, so she was following ICE. From all the videos that I've seen, she reversed into the middle of the street, whatever. She let one ICE truck go by. She tried to flag the other one. Obviously, when you're getting boxed in, literally, she was on the right lane. That's the lane that they needed to go down.
Got it.
Supposedly, she was aiding her neighbors who
Okay.
were immigrants, I believe. So that's why I'm not saying aiding and abetting. She was just probably trying to go to their aid as far as what's happening. Let me get some information on what's going down. That's the reason why ICE was in that particular neighborhood, to my research. And
Okay.
so she was literally in the right lane. The front of her truck was blocking the
Okay.
lane.
Okay.
She was allowing them to go. And that's pretty much the start of it.
So, Renez, was there more cars in the same position where her truck was? Because I've heard that there was a lot of other cars parked the same exact way that
Yeah,
her truck was.
supposedly, right? It hasn't been solidified yet. All that information hasn't been solidified yet. One of the things, and I agree with everything that Jeremiah said.
Right.
One of the things that we have to take notice too is that in this operation there were 2,000 ICE agents supposedly deployed in order to
2000?
2,000 more than um, the policemen and women that
Right.
were
Got it.
policing that, right? And it was an aggressive deployment, and that's in their own words. It was an aggressive deployment to go over there. She was blocking. There's no doubt in my mind that she was actually,
You standing on that?
standing. I stand on that 100% because
Right.
why would her wife be outside the car,
Right.
speaking and poking the hornet's nest? You
Right.
know, the biggest issue right here was that there were conflicting orders that were being given to her. One was to leave and one was to stay, right? And the officer, what was his name? I wrote it down. I forget his name. Anyway, that officer, maybe 6 months ago, was dragged 100 yards in a similar situation,
Oh,
right? So he was dragged 100 yards in a similar situation. So there's a lot of factors in here to unpack, whereas, it's not as obvious as it seems, right?
right.
There's a lot of things
It's
that are
not.
going
It's
on.
not that simple.
Yeah, there's so many things to unpack in here that it's crazy. It's crazy. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
The situation is like Murphy's Law. Anything that could have went wrong in that moment.
Okay. You want to add on to that, my brother, Jeremiah?
Yeah. I heard the narrative about maybe he had like a flashback PTSD or something like that. I would say, I'm not saying I disagree with that. Possibly it played a part into it. Um, but I would honestly say his focus really wasn't on Renee. It was on the wife. As you can see, she was a little bit more of that agitator because she was outside of her truck. He was more focused on her. He went towards back of the truck, and you have to figure if a crossfire does happen, it was bad where he was at when he was filming the back of the truck, the license plate. So he made it around towards the passenger side until he heard the officer say, "Get out." Then that's when he made his way over there. As soon as he went from the passenger side to the front towards the driver's side, as he was doing that, he was probably like towards the middle, maybe. She reversed, but as you can see, the front wheels, as soon as they peel out, they're pointed straight towards him.
All right, but you're not
Now,
saying. Hold on. You're not saying that the person that was on the driver's side. You're not talking about the driver's side where the person tried to grab the door.
No,
Okay, this
the
is one
actual dude
person.
who made the shooting. Yeah,
Got it.
the
All right.
actual officer who made the shooting. I wrote his name down somewhere. I forgot to. It's lost in the notes.
Yeah, I
But
got it.
yeah. So she was reversing. She
Jonathan
reversed,
Ross.
of course. The
Thank you,
front
sir.
wheels. Yes, there you go. Thank you. The wheels were turned to the right, of course, because she was trying to boom and then boom. How we know how to drive, you got reverse and then this way. So, but as the wheels peeled out, they were pointed towards him. By the time he did the, granted though, by the time he did the shooting, they were towards the right a bit. But with a 2,000-pound truck, and you're an officer in the front where you can't even see the wheels, and the vehicle did make contact with his body.
Okay.
Vehicle did make contact with his body. You can see his feet
Okay.
sliding back.
What do you say to the
Um,
people? And this question is for both of you guys. What do you say to
yes.
people when they hear you say she agitated? Some people don't is not looking at that, and they get upset with you. What do you say to them people when you say she agitated? But
You got.
sometimes, I felt uncomfortable when you even said that.
I
You
mean,
know
you have to look at the facts, right? Let's look at the facts, right?
what I mean?
We're living at a time where people feel empowered to go against authority figures that are doing their job, standing, firm, policing, and they get a lot of that,
Right.
right? They get a lot of that. We've seen it. People yelling in their faces and doing all these other things. In this situation, I feel that there were certain things that need to be said about their policy when engaging someone who's acting that way, right? So they actually have policies that prohibit them from doing exactly what he did.
Mm,
So they're not supposed to shoot at a car
right.
just to stop them from driving away. You understand? They're supposed to de-escalate situations. Supposedly they're trained on that, right? But now since I forget what's the date, supposedly the training turned from 6 months to 6 weeks because they're trying to fill those 12,000, those 10,000 other officers, right, to come in. So I don't know if he's part of that or the older regime, but the fact still remains that someone in your face in these situations should not put you over the top. One person, right, should not put you over the top, right, to get that deep in this situation. You
Word.
know, so it's beyond their policy and procedures. First of all, secondly, you got really really thin skin if that puts you in that position where you're shooting before you're trying to de-escalate or do anything. There was no conversation had.
Right. Okay.
I
Same.
just
Same.
want to add a little bit onto that
Add on to
too.
that.
If you
Go ahead.
So I just want to say, 8 U.S. Code 1357 actually states that immigration officers are don't have to retreat in the face of imminent threat. So I understand to de-escalate that means to prevent something, but if something's already happening, they don't have to retreat. So with the narrative that you said, shooting her to prevent her from driving off, personally, I believe the evidence shows it that he shot her to prevent harm to him, to himself. So that's where it kind of shifts. So if it was to shoot her to prevent her from driving off, that's wrong. We know that. We know that. So, but the narrative fits the evidence closely in my perspective, my perception, um, is that he is allowed to use deadly force when imminent threat is upon him or another officer or even a citizen, a person, not just a citizen, of course, but a person, another human.
Got it.
That 8 U.S. Code 1357 clearly states that they
Okay.
don't have to retreat.
Okay. Brittany, thank you for chiming in. I appreciate you chiming in. Much love and respect to you. Brittany says, in my opinion, a protest can never be peaceful. Her being there, interfering into something was bound to happen. She joined that group of people who were protesting ICE way before that happened. She knew why she was there. She didn't just drive, she didn't just drive through, and it was wrong. Place, wrong time. Okay.
I agree with that,
Thank you
honestly.
again, Anthony. Thank you for your comment, Brittany. Appreciate you chiming in. And Ant said, "Great answer, Jeremiah." Um,
Thank you, thank you.
Maria says, "If she would have minded her own business, she would have been alive today. She used her car to harm an officer. He defended himself. Was he supposed to let her run him over? I support ICE." Now, in saying that, I can imagine the backlash that you got, Maria, and I can imagine some of the backlash you got, Jeremiah. How do you
Oh
defend
yeah.
that? That's kind of like, I mean, in the eyes of a lot of people, you wrong as two left feet. You know what I mean? This girl died. Speak to that, Renez.
I believe perspective is 100% a factor here,
Hmm.
you know, and personal judgments or personal experiences come to play as well. Depending, a, a riot, not a riot, let's say a protest that's occurring, and for whatever reason becomes a riot, right? Uh,
Hmm.
we have a real opinion. There's always some type of catalyst that came in and caused everyone to wild out or whatever. I understand she backed up. It looked like she was going to hit him or what have you, but she was moving forward the way I saw it, and that's telling by the fact that one shot was at the driver's window and the other one was behind. Right? That gives you all indications to say that she was trying to get away. All right. But
Yeah.
my thing is that the narrative will play different depending on the person's perspective.
Right. Real
Are
talk.
you for authority figures and policing and things of that, or have you been victimized
Mm.
by policing? And my first experience with a officer killing someone was in 1977.
Wow. And where we located
I
in
was in Jersey
America?
City. I was living on Bergen Avenue, 77 Bergen Avenue, between
Jersey. Gotcha.
Dwight and Fulton. Colt 45 was the bar in the front, and there was a building on the side.
I
And
remember
Miss
that. I
Margie's
remember that.
store, Miss Margie's store was there. There was a guy named Red, and he was a neighborhood dude. He used to bring crabs to the house for my mom to cook them in red sauce, and him, Hoagie, Timothy Butler, everybody used to sit inside. So Red was on a motorcycle for whatever reason, and in the cemetery, going up from Garfield, the police officer was chasing him and hit him with the car. He fell and he died. That's my
Oh
first
wow.
experience that I still recall.
Wow.
And people were saying it was police brutality. Other people were saying something else. Since he was a friend, right? And I never saw him do it. I'm 7 years old at the time. I've never seen him do anything wrong. You understand?
Right.
I'm thinking he was killed, right? So I was falling into that. I didn't know if that was stolen. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know all the things that went with it. But that gives you a kind of idea of how deep rooted some folks have a disdain for the police, and especially when they're walking around and flexing the way that ICE does and coming in with that I'm untouchable mentality,
Mm,
which is scary. It's a scary thing to see when police go in there and they can care less of what's going on. So
that's a deep narrative, bro. That's
I
that's
a
how
like
I
that.
see
really
it.
deep narrative. Real talk. What you got to say on that, Jamal?
I actually have a similar situation. My cousin actually, there's a county over here in the valley. It's called Tulare County. My cousin, a little more than 10 years ago, he was wanted for questioning for a murder, just a
Right.
questioning for a man who was murdered. They wanted to question my cousin for it, and there was flyers going around the neighborhood for him. They finally approached him. My cousin, he was urinating on a fence around an apartment, and I guess they seen him go that way. So as soon as he was done, he turned around, went back around the corner, and then the cops had a shotgun. They had a 4 or 5 pointed at him, called him by his name, and said, "Hey, come here. We need to talk to you. Stop what you're doing." So what he did is just turn around. The fence was actually his girlfriend's fence. He went to jump the fence, but as soon as he wanted to jump his fence, I'm pretty sure that was his intention. Um, and so as soon as he turned around, they ended up shooting him. He dropped, and the evidence shows that they shot him with a buckshot while he was on the floor too, as well. Fortunately, he didn't pass away right then because he was paralyzed. Actually, they paralyzed him from the neck down,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago due to you could only live so long being paralyzed. You know what I mean? And whether it's infection and stuff like that, that's what he passed away from. So I understand the perception of the police being the judge, the jury, and the executioner. You know what I mean? I definitely understand that. But what my brother Renez is saying is that, which something that I don't agree with from an outside perspective, I can actually try to view it logically rather than emotionally. So even though this happened to my cousin, and that was just one instance, you know what I mean. But that's the one that's close to my heart.
Right.
I know a few people who passed away from cops, different situations. You know what I mean, whether they're guilty or not. But the one that stands out the most is my cousin. And even though that happened to my cousin, I'm able to put my emotion and my specific perception of that instance aside when it comes to this new instance. You know what I
Right.
mean? So whether people have a certain situation that happened in their life or anything like that, um, I know you weren't saying this, brother Vanez, but I know that you said that can take a play with these protesters.
Yeah, I mean, we
Wow.
come from an era where we seen people get shot for stepping on your shoe.
Word.
You understand?
Fact.
That's a fact. I mean, I've seen it, and I lived uptown and I lived downtown. So I got both. I got to see both. My thing is, we, us three, might be able to separate that, right? But someone in the moment,
Yes.
right? Someone in the moment, it only takes 5 seconds to make a bad decision that'll change your life, right? Someone in that moment might be triggered, your adrenaline and everything else, perception, oh, he's going to do that or she's going to do that. Again, that is something that is on the person and in the situation. It's like us watching something we're passionate about, some sport that we're passionate about,
Right.
right? We're yelling and screaming and like we're coaching the team,
Right.
right? Like we're
Yeah.
coaching the team, like they're listening to us while we're on the
I
other
got money on this game.
side. Exactly,
Run.
right?
Do
Right. So now turn that into people on a confrontational aspect, right? And all these things are running through their heads, and this is in seconds. They have to determine what they're going to do, what's their best option. 5 seconds make you. You know what I mean? That's something I always used to tell my students. You can change your narrative, you can change your life in 5 seconds from being a free
Word.
man to being in jail.
Word.
Hmm.
That's
You
real
know,
Yeah.
talk.
make you thinking.
Great analogy, brother. Great analogy. And I
Yeah.
love
That's
both of
big right
y'all
there.
perspectives, man. I love that how you breaking this down and how you seeing this. The statement as far as emotionalism, that's definitely one of my stands. You know what I mean? It's like I think that a lot of times when you make a decision off of emotions, your mind is cloudy, your judgment is not really on point. And I think that a lot of people do that. So that's one of my stands on it. So it's amazing that you guys brought that up. But I want to go,
I
I
want.
want to say
Oh,
this. Go ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to add a little bit of background to how I became into the light real fast. Just a real quick story. This past summer here where I'm at in Fresno, California, which is the valley, it's the central valley of California. It's like dead center pretty much. Um, we had an ICE protest downtown. Well, they had an ICE protest downtown. And I seen that, so I made a sign. It said Latinos for Trump. So something like that, of course, but definitely I
Okay.
get a lot of backlash. As you can see the hat, you know.
Right.
So I made a sign going there, thinking there was probably going to be a few people on my side there. No, I was literally the only one in the whole city
Of
versus
course you
hundreds of
would be.
people. So I literally had the sign up for 5 seconds. I got boo bopped on the side of the head by a non-binary DACA recipient. So she was an
Wow.
immigrant, you know, and she's actually on the run right now. And so that's pretty much how I came to light. And you know, I literally didn't smile at these people. I didn't say not one word. I walked up with my sign folded. I put it up in the corner when I was at one corner, and I just crossed the street. As soon as I got across the street, I turned around to show it to the oncoming traffic, and as soon as I turned around, hit me with a one of those stainless steel hydro flasks. She clipped me,
Wow.
so I didn't get hurt or anything like that. And then it went down. I was on Fox News. I was on the Spanish news,
Really?
and it was around when they were doing the LA protests and riots back then. We were having one here in Fresno, smaller scale, but so that's why pretty much that's what shot me into the limelight with all this politics, and everybody wanted to hear my perspective and stuff like that. So I got a little personal experience with agitated protesters, you know.
Wow, that's deep, man. To have a situation like that and physically, but it's amazing
Yeah.
because even online, enemies are created just in conversation. So
Yes,
that
sir.
have that happened to you? Just having a conversation or debate about a topic?
Yeah, yeah. Today, I had heard that.
Occurred.
Yeah, today there was I heard it's not confirmed, but I just reposted it or I shared it. It said the CEO of Chipotle donated 15,000 to ICE agents. So I just shared that. So I said, looks like I'm gonna get Chipotle this week, right? And then some girl went in my DMs in the comments. Hey, I thought you were funny at first. You were trolling, but nah, blah blah blah. And she just started talking a whole bunch of mess. I just had to block her real fast, you know. So
Wow.
it happened. I'm a controversial, well, so to speak. I mean, I just try to stick to the truth and the
Right.
logic and the facts as close as I can. You know, I do
Right.
insert my personal opinion. You know, of course, that may not necessarily be
Popular.
with the facts, but that's rarely. That's only if asked upon. You know what I mean? But if I'm reporting something or doing something on my podcast, I try to dive deep into research and all that stuff. So yeah, it happens to me on the daily, man. I wake up to about 15 to 20 DMs and or comments. Just well, actually more comments. 15 to 20 DMs on Instagram, TikTok,
Wow.
Facebook. Just a bunch of stuff. People just talking crap, man.
Wow. Wow. How about you, Brenez? What do you feel that ICE is doing wrong? Because evidently they are doing a lot of wrong, bro. What do you feel they're doing wrong?
I think it's leadership. I put it on the leadership and in training.
Got it.
Any acting official that's well trained and knows his policy and procedures, and the leadership is on them, making sure that following protocol, some of these incidents would not happen. Not saying they would never happen, because now you have the other element, the protesters,
Right.
right? And then if one goes, they all go. It's like what was the name of the movie, The Lord of the Flies?
Right.
Remember that scene where they would chase
Yeah.
the pig in practice and they killed it. Once they killed that one kid, everybody was like, ah, and they split sides and what have you. So that mentality is a real thing, where one goes and then everybody else goes. It changes a peaceful protest into like that the woman said before, no protest is safe, right? It changes the narrative of that. But as them doing things wrong, it falls on your opinion and your rearing and who you are as a person and your perspective on how seeing it. Some people see ICE as doing a wonderful job.
Hmm.
It's doing what they were made for, right? They
Right.
they were made to do a certain job, and this is what they're doing. And then you have other people who look at ICE as the enemy, right? Because let's be real. Bottom line is they're doing it to these people. What's next,
Hmm.
right? And that's a scary place to be for a lot of people.
Right. Right.
You're hearing all the rhetoric on the news. You're hearing, social media, everything
Right.
else. Since COVID, we've been destroyed because everything changed, and now we're so addicted to this thing that it governs our lives in a way. But I'm
Mhm.
not saying they do everything wrong.
Right.
I'm saying that the focus is on what they do wrong.
Got it.
Right? I don't agree with um, these folks being taken from their children, and
Right.
there's a lot of things that I don't agree with, right? But we live in a nation, right, that's governed and is in their mind protecting us, right? In their mind, they're protecting us. Our
Mhm.
only defense against that is to go to our senators, our governors, our mayors, and stand fast and say, you know what, we don't like the way you're doing things. We're going to vote you out, right? That's the only power that we have. You're really not going to be able to step against people that are empowered with authority.
Right.
It's a lose lose. Right now,
Mm.
the cops face with the camera and everything else, that would annoy the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Just the police officers, right? I don't have that type of grit to be able to stand there while they're cursing me out and I'm protecting you from
Mm.
something else. So with the ICE agents, I can see where people are just seeing it as, this is crazy. Because again, as minorities, we saw our history. We saw the water hoses and the dogs. We saw the tyranny. We saw it all. So it kind of, urban trauma is a real thing.
Word. And it's amazing, being that you brought that up. Back then, our people, Black African American people, were not doing anything. There were situations where they would go into a restaurant and get spit on. They would just be protesting peacefully and still get some
Holy,
type of beat down that day or later on that day, or you know what I mean, the next day.
yeah. So it's
So
fear.
yeah, so my stance also is, why don't people push what not to do during protests, being that we know that these people are evil? Okay, we know. Okay, we seen all types of situations in the past where people get hurt, brutally hurt, because of the confrontation, as the young lady said in the post, agitation. Why don't why isn't there information out there pushed on a great level of what not to do when faced with
Out loud.
ICE, when faced with officers regarding a protest?
I got a perfect answer. It's because the Democrats specifically need actions like this to happen when Renee Good gets shot and things like this to further push their narrative to abolish ICE and to take away these people in power, which I personally think are doing a decent job. Is it a perfect job? No, of course, I would be crazy to say that. You know what I mean? But there's going to be flaws in every system, especially when you're taking over an administration that had a lot of holes in it, and you're trying to patch it up as quickly as you can. There's going to be holes in different type of systems that you're trying, new systems that you're trying to implement. Um, can you guys hear me good? Yeah, I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
changed mics.
yeah,
That's
you're
why.
good,
Okay,
bro.
perfect. Okay, yeah. So I would say it's because it plays into to big government's narrative, specifically the Democrat side. They need for us to see things like this, specifically their side. Well, us as Americans to try to get some Republicans too as well. I was looking at a poll specifically before the shooting happened, um, and their narrative is almost working as far as the Democrats. There was a poll that's saying that majority of Americans, even a lot of Democrats, agree with the deportation of illegal aliens, specifically illegal aliens,
Mhm.
and so what the distinction is that the way that they go about it, that's where some people, even some Republicans, are starting now, especially after the shooting. They're almost starting to grab uh, pick some people from our side, and that they need for the Americans to see stuff like this. They need protesters to almost get harmed so they can pretty much take the power away from our side and stuff like that. So it plays within their narrative.
When you
I
say
saw, I saw the
when you
same.
say outside, you talking about Republican side?
Republicans, yeah, sorry, yeah.
Got you. Okay. Go ahead, Renez.
I think one of the biggest problems right now is that we're not looking at the situations the same way, Republicans and Democrats in this. We have a lot of how can I say? It's more about being a Republican than doing what we're supposed to do. Is more than it's more of being a Democrat and following that characterization
Hmm.
rather than the problem that is right in front of us, and that causes the distress within the two parties to not agree on how to take care of situations, right? Again, you have to look at human nature, right? You have to look at human nature, folks' greed, payoffs, whatever is coming, down the line. And it's not like I'm pulling this out of the air and it hasn't been, you know, it's not something that happened.
Got it.
Oh, look at Melendez,
Got it.
what I mean, with gold bullions in his closet and stuff like that.
Word.
So my thing is, um, my biggest issue is that we don't come to some type of accord and get together and really speak about the problems.
Right.
It's more of I'm a Democrat and this is how the Democrats do it. I'm a Republican. This is how the Republicans do it, and it's getting old, right?
Right.
We're living in a different age where we're gonna lose it all eventually because we're taking these stands, right?
Word.
I'm afraid for my children and their future. I'm afraid because it's going to get to the point where people from the outside are not going to care or play
Hmm.
us behind the fact that we can't work together.
Wow. I mean, you're Puerto Rican, right?
Yes.
And I just seen young lady Maria. She said that, I think also speaking on what Jeremiah was talking about. She said, I have been calling some horrible names and disgusting gestures because of topics that she talk about probably online or how she believe and things of that nature.
It's a hard pill to swallow. It's a hard pill to swallow.
Mm,
I'll give you an example. One of my friends, we used to hang out, go dancing together, and everything else. Um, Grew up in Jersey City, so he knows what it is. and then he moved to Illinois
Mm.
and became a Trump supporter. So when he came back and in conversation, and he's like, "I agree with Trump," and da 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 and all this stuff, you really take a step back and see, look at him like, you should be on our side. You shouldn't be. You shouldn't have an opinion. You should.
Mm.
You shouldn't sit here and go against what we believe. Right? That's
Right.
their right. It's their right to do that. You
Right.
know, I'm not fighting that. I do fight ignorance. Right? You know, we're sitting here with Jeremiah. He's a supporter, and we're having a conversation. It's not being disrespectful. We haven't said no because this, that, and the third. Do I agree with everything he's saying? No. Does he agree with everything I'm saying? No. But there's a mutual respect
Exactly.
to hold this conversation just to get our point across,
Right.
right? And it's the same thing. Like, he's not saying this wasn't a tragic event, right? For both parties.
Right.
I'm not saying it was justified. You understand?
Right. Nobody deserves to die.
We're
Nobody's saying that
not
it's
saying
good for
that.
her.
What we're saying is the situation happened
Mm.
because of a lot of factors. There were a lot of factors that have to come into play in order to sit there and say this is the situation. We can't paint her as this innocent person when they were saying that she was following ICE the entire day. They used the word stalking.
Talking.
I
Yeah.
can't forget who said it. She said she was stalking ICE the entire day. Do we know that? I don't know, but let's talk about facts. Let's say a black or Hispanic person gets in a situation where a cop shoots them. They'll start digging into their past and things of that nature and demonize that person and make them seem like it was merited. That me
That's a
killing
fact.
killing was merited, right? We haven't gotten to that point yet with this situation. We don't know all the facts. I know they hired the attorneys from Floyd, the same people that I believe it was Floyd.
Oh,
Um,
really?
they hired that attorney, but
Yeah, George Floyd.
yeah. So my thing is this hasn't been unpacked yet, right? We hear the rhetoric, we hear both sides. A terrorist, I think that's a little strong,
Right.
right? That's a
Right.
little strong to be a terrorist, to consider a terrorist. But and that was said off the cuff before anything else was said. But do I paint her as not being involved? No. I said it in the beginning. I can't see her not being involved in that situation when your wife is outside antagonizing and videotaping, telling them to go to
Right.
lunch, and we don't change our plates every morning and all this other stuff. So there's a lot of factors here that we have to really
Right.
start looking. And
Well,
the family's always going to say, no, we weren't doing that, right? And the police officer's always going to say, yes, they were doing that, and then some,
right.
right? So it's still up to public opinion.
Or if you have a perspective you want to bring to the table, those who are on looking, you can always call in if you like. If you don't want to do the typing, you can call in and give your perspective on this particular topic. If you want to put it on the comment board, that's fine as well. All right. So as I'm asking questions for them, you can always answer by putting it in the comment board. And please, those who here, just do me a favor and like the page. I appreciate it. And please share the page. All right. This is a good conversation, man. I think this is a great conversation because you get different perspectives from everybody. And if you want to bring yours on, like I said, feel free. Now, my take mainly is why I wanted to do this podcast is because I wanted to make sure that we are telling people also what not to do. Because if we are not giving them this information of what not to do, a lot of this stuff can happen again. A lot of this stuff can happen and will happen again. What should civilians not do? That is the key. If you have an answer, please Put it on the comment board. Thank you. I appreciate it. So I'm going to go to another question in regarding what I'm talking about, as far as what civilians and people should not do. All right.
Okay, let's do it.
Word. So here we go. Hold on for 1 minute. Let me
I'm
grab.
listening, guys. I just have to plug my computer in.
All right. So the next question will be, um, at what point, like I said before, at what point does protest stop helping and start hurting it? Do you believe most protesters understand the legal risks before they even show up?
Well, excuse me. I would say personally, they don't know. They don't know the legal risks
Mhm.
because the Democrats specifically don't know the legal risks. I would say because the Democrats are against the legality of it in the first place. So, you know what I mean? So they want to push that threshold to see how much, you know what I mean, can happen before the legality of things start being in their favor, pretty much.
Right.
Or to when they can get the power back, as
Right.
far as the legality of it goes. So, and they're not properly informing, like when they say you're able to ask ICE, do you have a warrant and stuff like that under the code that I stated earlier, which is 8 U.S. Code 1357. Immigration actually can do warrantless arrests, and in a broad sense of circumstances, they can also do warrantless searches, um, to a certain aspect, to a certain extent too as well. And I mean that's in the U.S. code
Right.
too as well. And they have. I understand it from their perspective because it is vague. You know what I mean? It is vague. So immigration can do immigration courts and courts when we get locked up or something, two completely different type of courts, especially when it comes to illegal immigrants, stuff like that. They honestly, which the American people should know, but a lot of them don't know, is that they have limited due process.
Right.
So if you're here on a visa or you're just here illegally, you know what I mean. You can't speak against, for example, like you have limited free speech too as well if you're illegal, or if you have like you're overstaying your visa, or even if you're just on a visa, you have limited free speech. This pertains to like talking against, like maybe inciting violence against, you know what I mean. Against the country or against ICE or something like that, you can get your visa revoked, and you could get deported for things like that. So when it comes to immigration, there's different court systems. I'm not
Mhm.
saying that there's a lot of overlapping, but there's certain instances that you have to go about it different,
Right.
and it's in the U.S. code.
All
I
right.
think it's unfair for you to say that that's a narrative for the Democrats. Most protests are done by different organizations and things of that nature. Now, do the Democrats agree with those protests and support those protests? Some do, some don't. But it's not, most protests is not a politically funded instant, like
Mm.
situation. It's a group or organization who rally up the troops and go for a peaceful protest or an aggressive, whatever it may be. There's leadership from certain,
Communities. Hmm.
certain groups.
Hmm.
Um, the fact is that in our history in the United States, we have been met with physical force. We can't disagree on that. We have been met with murder. We have been met with dogs. We have been met with hoses. We have been met with segregation. We have been met. All these things come to play like it's happening again. I see David keeps saying before it happens again. This has been happening. This is when it happened again. You understand what I mean? Like we've
Yeah.
been through this for so many years. It's not
And this
even.
is America.
It's part of America, pretty much.
Yeah, but right. So what I'm saying here is, it depends on the government how they handle the situation. If they see a protest and they come aggressively to the protesters. We seen them moved out the way. There was actually I saw some U-Haul go through the protesters. I don't know if you guys caught that where the U-Haul just ran through the protesters and things. Those are the incidents that I'm talking about.
Got it.
And I can't blame the Republicans for that. I can blame the overly enthused Trump supporters, right? That are not sitting there looking at policies or what's going on that way, and just rather be aggressive and go through these folks. It's not the whole Republican Party. It's these people that take it upon themselves to handle situations and take situations in their own hands, matters in their own hands, and become aggressive and put a stain on either party. That's how I see
Yeah.
it.
Got it. Got it.
I want to add to something because I'm not sure if David's seen the U-Haul thing where we're talking what Brother Renez was talking about.
No,
There
not
was a
that I'm agree. I'm
protest.
just trying to get everybody. I'm trying to get your
Oh
side.
yeah, no, no, no,
Yeah.
of course.
Trying to get your
No, what
perspective. This is called the perspective.
yeah, perfect.
All right.
So no, I was just saying that because when he said he's not sure if you've seen it, I thought you said no, like you didn't see it.
No, I
So
didn't see it.
okay, yeah. So like the U-Haul, there was protesters. They were all up in the street. A U-Haul, um, from the video, it pretty much plowed through them. You know what I mean? And I would say the reason why you cannot, it's different. We're not comparing them, of course. The Renee Good situation. I know you're not
Right.
doing that, but you brought up how, well, I'm not blaming the Republicans. I can't blame the Republicans. Well, it's because there really isn't a narrative. We don't know if that was he plowed through him pretty much because he had a spot to go. He had a place to go. So he could have even been a Democrat or a Trump supporter. But the thing with Renee Good, we knew where her stance was at. So he wasn't just driving around following these protests and plowing through these protesters. He had a spot to go. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he or she, I think it was a guy. I'm pretty sure the reports that I see. He was asking them to move, asking them to move, asking them to move. Nope. Ended up plowing through them. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Actually, it was a guy. It was a guy. Now I remember the video in my head.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So Renee Good had a specific stance. When it comes to the U-Haul thing like that, we didn't know this guy just, was getting annoyed pretty much. And we've seen a lot of other YouTube videos where it happened too. And there are some, I'll admit, there are some videos where they said that it was confirmed, like a Republican or a Trump supporter who specifically went and plowed through some people. I think there's
Right.
like a video or two, in the past that had that. This specifically that U-Haul video. That's what I'm saying. The distinction comes.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Renee Good she had a stance. She was part of an ICE watch team where she was trained to agitate and block ICE.
Mm.
You know what I mean? She was going through extensive training. Even a witness said that she was specifically trained to know how to handle these ICE situations. You know what I mean? And handling from their perspective, not in a good way.
Where'd you get that from?
Yeah,
So there's reports actually. Yeah, so there's actually reports. So when Trump was elected, she moved from Canada, or she moved from wherever she was at. I forgot where they said she was at, to Canada when Trump was elected. Most recently, she moved to Minnesota to aid with the immigration, all the fraud and stuff like that. How they're saying, how Republicans are trying to stop it, or at least expose it more. So she went to help out the immigration and all that was going in Minnesota. That's why she was there. She ended up enrolling her kid into a school that had a group within the school, like with the parents and stuff like that, to where it was an anti-ICE watch group. And there's a parent who has a student in the same school as her kid that confirmed that actually. You know what I
Um,
mean? I could,
okay. So I'm
yeah.
gonna
So
keep
pretty
going
much.
on the question: what protesters should not do? The young lady mentioned on the chat. She said, "Stay out the way. Stay in
Mhm.
your home. You cannot interact with the active investigation. There will be consequences. Simple as pie." Okay, good point. I see your point on that. So, yeah, what are the things they should not do? I'm staying on that. What should not be done by the protesters?
I believe they shouldn't impede the situation. They should not be actively stopping or trying to stop that from happening, because now you're placing yourself in harm's way, right?
Mm,
If you're willing to be in harm's way, then you do what you have to do,
right,
right? But you cannot put yourself in situations during a protest,
right,
right? And become a new, you're going to become a piece, a different piece that wasn't expected,
right.
right? And you're going to be met with measures that you weren't expecting for
Mhm,
doing the things you do, because you believe that the officers are not going to harm you and things of that nature.
right.
It's different type of policing that's happening,
Yeah,
right?
it's totally different.
Their bylaws are being changed. It's a fluid bylaw thing where
Right,
things are being changed throughout the occurrences to give them, you know, uh, a rationale for doing some of the things that they do.
right.
It's a dangerous situation, and it's scary. Now, would I protest? I can protest, but would I stand in front of an active situation where that many officers running in, and you already know the history that's occurred,
Yeah, I get it.
the situations that occurred in the past with
I get it.
run-ins with them.
Right,
So I can protest, and from afar, I think the biggest protest you can have is rallying your community, teaching them the importance of voting, teaching them the power of writing your government, and
mhm,
holding them accountable, because you voted them in for a certain reason.
right,
And that's my take of it. You know what
right.
I'm saying? Let's work it that way, because it's not going to work if you're doing it. You can't run up against the police and think you're going to win.
Wow.
Regardless, we
So,
know that.
so my thing is, and I was talking to a few brothers in the shop, and I've talked to another brother who called in on one of the podcasts the other day, and I realized that we both agreed. First of all, somebody on the comment board said, "Black people stay out the way. This is not your." Basically said, he said, "Stay out the way. It's not your fight." uh, so
Oh man.
I feel that other nationalities didn't have that talk that Black people had many years ago. Many years ago, there were great grandparents and great grandmothers and mothers and fathers and all that would say, before you leave the house, like if you're 7, 8, 9 years old, this is what you got to do. Listen, do not look them in the eye. Do not do this. Make sure you say yes, sir. Show them your ID, or whatever the case may be. It was always some type of rules and regulations that you got to do as a person, so that you won't be strange fruit in a tree. Get it? I think that there was an entitlement when it came to Miss Good and the other young lady because they were YT.
Yep.
So I think other nationalities need to have that talk because as My brother Renez said, it's different. It's different. The policing is different, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. So let me read the chat real quick. I want to thank people that's here. Maria, Brittany, appreciate you for chiming in. Do me the favor, go over to YouTube if you could, David Adams Podcast, and press subscribe. You can also subscribe to this page, which is David Adams on Facebook as well. Maria says, with Floyd, buildings we destroyed, people were hurt. With Charlie Kirk, no buildings were destroyed, nobody was hurt. Everyone gathered to pray, and more people turned to God. Deep. And
I agree with that.
yeah, Maria also said to Jeremiah's point, I heard the same, Jeremiah. I heard the same. For I guess she's talking about the
The
U-Haul.
U-Haul.
Yeah. All right. She also said, if Martin Luther King was alive today, the world would be appalled or applauded. That what you said? Okay. All right. Great answer. I don't know who she was. Anthony was saying great answer. Also, Maria said, Martin Luther King teachings were to make your voice heard in a respectful manner, an educated manner. He wasn't for any type of violence. He said, you want to speak and be respected. You show up well dressed and educated. Yeah, it's different, man. It's different. So the authorities have this energy of I'm not being punked. And the people have this energy of I'm not being punked. Maria also said, no, Brittany said, you gentlemen keep doing what you're doing. Thanks for having us and in part of this being part of this discussion. I hope to see more.
Appreciate it.
For chiming in. We appreciate that. It means a lot. Yeah, appreciate it. You know, so we can have a civil conversation about it and we can disagree. It's fine, you know? All right. So another question would be, first of all, I want to watch this particular video real quick, you know?
Let's do it.
Let's watch this video real quick. Let's see. Here we go. Bang.
For months, masked federal agents have aggressively engaged with protesters in several states while carrying out the president's immigration directives. Shooting pepper balls into faces, using cars to move people, and even employing chokeholds on protesters, tactics endorsed by President Trump.
Americans have been watching videos of ICE tackling a young mother, tear gas being used in a Chicago residential neighborhood, and the smashing of car windows. Have some of these raids gone too far?
What do you think? Have some of these raids gone too far? Answer the question, you guys, my man.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I agree. Some of these things have gone too far, but again, that's human nature, right? They're there to do a job, adrenaline and things of that nature. They go too far. Police brutality. No one, a Republican or Democrat, cannot say it doesn't exist.
Word.
Right? Let's stand firm on that.
Right.
There's no way you can tell me that doesn't exist. I've experienced it.
Right.
Jersey City had Kojak. Remember Kojak?
Yeah.
He used to drive people from downtown to Curry's Woods, right? And drop you off there and say, I just put 2 downtown guys in Curry's Wood. That's like 4 miles away from downtown Jersey City. And he used to
Dang, man, that's crazy.
So that's a fact. And they used to beat you with under the turnpike. Those were things that were happening in Jersey City. So we did that.
Yeah.
Now, with the authority given to the ICE agents, right? It kind of rolls over to them as well. Some of the things I'm sure, you have to look at it as like, damn, that's a little too much. You know what I mean? To put that one woman down where, you didn't have to slam her that way. You could have
Right.
just accosted her. Two people could have just grabbed her, cuffed her, what have you.
Now, I want to say what the young lady also said, Maria said, the media will only show you so much.
It's true.
Because, I mean, we are seeing this narrative, which, that tug on my heart to see what they're doing to these people. And that's going on all around the world as far as putting these images out. That's wrong. So you got people saying, this got to stop. This got to stop, man. Y'all coming in, Bogart, y'all ain't got the right. People saying they ain't got the right to do this. What do you say to that?
I would say personally, what's happening right now, is it perfect? No. Um, should 100% of it be happening? No, of course not. But how do you combat extremism from one side with normalism? You know what I mean? It's really hard to have any type of progress when one side, proposes extreme tactics. So that's where ICE ups it a little bit, where they got the pepper balls shooting people's eyeballs and stuff like that.
So
Um,
let me ask
Well,
you.
people would say the same thing about ICE,
Right.
right? They're the
yes,
ones with the
well,
weapons. They're the ones. Well, let me just say this:
yes.
they're the ones with the weapons. They're the ones with the vest. They're the ones with the pepper gas. They're the ones that are standing firm, with the shields and everything else. You would say that about them as well. 2,000 agents,
Mm,
right? More than the police in both parts. That's a little extreme, right? What they had a mission, and I guess they figured tactically that would be the best way to approach it, right? But there's a lot of wrong that's going on. We know we know this, and they're hiring um military ex-military. Like there's certain levels to it, right?
right.
But they're also getting the now they changed the age limit from 37. Am I correct? From 37 now it's just opened the age
Well,
limit to become a nice agent.
I'm not sure about that.
I read that somewhere.
Okay.
We have a lot of things going on here where I look at it as the extremism. It falls on the authority
Yeah.
to
So
limit or maximize it.
what would cause ICE agents to hit people with pepper spray balls in their
Well,
face? What would cause that?
Well, see, that's what I wanted to play into. I agree somewhat with my brother Renez right here, as far as that, but I have yet to see a video where ICE just unloads on a crowd without the crowd doing something first. So whether they're blocking traffic, whether they're ramming ICE cars, vehicles, and stuff like that, I have yet to see videos like that. But I want to bring something up that I think that it points out the distinction between the two sides, the two parties, which is in Minnesota. Tim Walz during COVID had he enabled the National Guard to go down streets. There's a video of it too as well. I was just seeing it a day or two ago, and I watched it today before the podcast too as well. He enabled the National Guard going down. It was during COVID when they had the curfews and people had to stay inside and stuff. So there was a couple of people, this family that were just on their porch. They filmed. They were just filming. That's it. They weren't agitating. They weren't yelling at the National Guard. National Guard told them to go in their house.
Got it.
And then they still didn't say nothing. They were just filming. National Guard said, light them up. They started shooting the pepper balls all at them. And then they ran into the house. So that's the distinction that the Democrat side act like they don't remember when they were implementing things like that too, as well.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So, and that's they were actually doing it more extremely. You know, like I said, I have yet to personally see a video where ICE just unloads on a crowd.
So you saying you basically
Without
seen you without them actually doing something. So what are some of the things you have seen that
well, mostly
protesters have done for them to escalate it to pepper spray balls or mace? And because I really haven't seen too many videos what the protesters are doing certain things.
so what I've seen personally, and I'll let Renez go after me, of course, not let him, but he's allowed to,
Right.
if he's seen anything after. Personally, I've seen videos to where ICE was apprehending a child molester, and there was just random people trying to snatch ICE off of them, and they don't even know the circumstance. You know what I mean? I've seen that. I've seen where ICE was onto they were doing an investigation where they were trying to arrest an illegal immigrant. I'm not sure if it was violent or anything like that. I don't remember that part. But they boxed him in, and then the illegal immigrant was just reversing back and forth. This was a recent video, actually, too. Back and forth into the cars, and they had to pull him out the car, or yeah, they had to pull him out the car and stuff like that. So
Right.
I would say what protesters do is impede in these type of investigations or whatever ICE are doing. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's one thing that I've seen them repeatedly. There's a lot of videos out there on the internet of them impeding in investigations or potential investigations. Sometimes they don't even have to impede. They're literally just protesting outside of ICE, and they're trying to bang on doors and stuff like that. And they get in ICE's face to where
Right.
they're yapping. Of course,
Right.
they end up spitting on the ICE people just from simply talking. And ICE, like Renee said, they're just itching. A lot of them are itching to do something, of
Right.
course. And
Right.
I would say the protesters really give them ammo, so to speak, to actually implement some of these things that they're waiting to do.
So, Renez, they are itching to do something. Do you feel like they are really itching to utilize those instincts that they were taught in training?
They're walking. Listen, first and foremost, the training. I have to look up a little more information on that. I made a statement about it changed because they were trying to get those 10,000 additional ICE and change, and they were giving them 6 weeks training rather than the 6 months training that
Wow.
needed to happen. The ICE agents go into situations knowing they're going to be opposed, right? They're on high alert from the moment they embark
Right.
into any situation. That puts them at edge. That puts them at edge. Um, Itching, some, I'll say some are itching.
Yeah, I would say some. Yeah, some.
Right.
But they're doing a job that they're getting paid for, and
Mm.
they have orders
They have orders.
for
Got it.
certain things.
Got it.
Now, the protesters, when things go left, right?
Mhm.
Maybe it'll be one person who throws something or does something. A lot of times in certain protests, you have people placed to do so. And I can talk to you about experience. In doing a white walk, we dressed all in white and we walked in New York City, and we actually walked to the Trump Towers, right?
Mm.
A silent protest,
Wow.
silent. They were having on the
That's
Lower East Side,
amazing.
they were having a different type of protest on the Lower East Side. This gentleman who wasn't dressed in white had the Puerto Rican flag on him, jumped on the thing and started yelling F Trump and na, 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 na. That's the person that makes things difficult.
Escalated.
That he escalates things to the point that everybody turned around and said, "Listen, you're at the wrong protest.
Wow.
That's happening over there. You
Wow.
don't need that here."
Wow.
That's the way they ran that protest. Again, like I say, if you get involved in a protest, it should be well organized.
Do you think the protests that we've been seeing on social media is organized?
I don't think so. And not to the fact, I think a lot of them, we're gonna, like you said before, there are a lot of people that are privileged and
Mm,
feel that they can say or do whatever they want to do,
right.
because of that privilege. If you look at it, in that same video, you look at that video, most of the people that are getting accosted are Caucasian. And
Yeah.
it's rare where you see an African American or Puerto Rican or anything else being dragged out of it.
Mhm.
Right? I guess it goes towards what you said: keep your eyes down and don't get involved. That's not your fight.
Right.
But you know,
We got
in
that talk.
turn,
We got that
yeah,
talk.
but you know what? In turn, after all these folks are gone, right? Then what? What's the next thing that needs to be getting rid of? What's the next thing that needs to be changed for the
Mm,
good? There's always going to be something else. So imagine if ICE does its job and takes away all the illegals. Now what?
mm.
What are we supposed to expect?
What's next, huh?
They're going to get rid of ICE?
Mm.
Billions of dollars are being given to this project, right? The narrative now changes. Now they have a different mission.
Now I got different mission. I
What
get it.
that mission will be, I don't know, but I'm 100% sure it's going to impact people like me and people like you,
Or
right?
I feel you.
All three of us, because you know what? We're minorities.
Right.
It's going to
Yeah.
impact after the fact.
What do you
So,
say to the people who came to America and they've been here for 15 years? They got kids in school, they have jobs, but they don't have their paperwork, and ICE come and drag them out their homes, man.
Well, I would say there's I know somebody personally within my church, that he, well, I don't know him personally, but this instance, man in my church, a young
Mhm.
man, he's really sad that his dad, can face deportation. His dad was in America for 25 years, um, and he
How
can you hear
old was
me.
the young man? Yeah, I hear you. How old was the young man?
Oh, how old was the young man? The young man's like 20, 21. I know he's early 20s.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Um, so his dad didn't make time, didn't make no type of effort. He was to put his paperwork through. And I'm sorry, I can't feel sorry for somebody like that. I cannot feel sorry for somebody like that. Personally, my grandmother came at 12 years old from America, from Mexico. You know, she was being mistreated by her stepdad, was keeping her and her siblings in cages.
Wow.
She came over here when she was 12 years old. Her older sisters came first, established a little something over here, I guess, found a
Mhm.
good, what they would call a coyote, to sneak them over, a reputable source, I guess, because, you know, they're sometimes they'll just take your money and kill you, leave you in the desert, man.
Wow.
So they took, her older sisters took the risk, brought my grandmother here. My grandma had like a kid or two while she was here first in her early 20s. Then she understood the laws to where she had to get her paperwork ready. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Unfortunately, my grandma passed away, a year or two ago, almost 2 years ago. So, but her paperwork been good. You know what I mean? So she was naturalized citizen here.
So
So
you're not respecting the emotionalism of this thing. Because
So
I'm
the
hearing
emotionalism, it's
right.
really hard. It's really hard to when I did the Fox News interview when I got attacked at the ICE protest, they didn't want to play this. Of course, you know they cut all the news. The media they cut it up to, you know what I mean. Fox was
Right.
pretty cool though, but they
Right.
asked me a question. They said, "So your grandmother?" Once I laid the same information that I just did upon you guys in the audience, they asked me, "So if your grandmother was still alive and Trump was trying to deport her, blah blah, if she didn't have her paperwork right, what would you say?" And unfortunately, it has to be the same across the board. Unfortunately, my grandma would have to go back too.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So that just shows as far as the emotionalism. I can't, just because she's my grandmother, You know what I mean? I can't. Laws are laws. You know what I mean? I can't let my emotions dictate what my opinion on people following laws. You
Mm,
know,
that's deep. That's deep.
yeah.
So let me ask you a
Speak to that,
question.
Menez.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
What happens when, let's say, when Trump is gone, the next person up is totally against everything he did, right? And changing it. Where will the Trumpsters be? Where would you be at when they're changing all the laws and things of that nature? Are you going to start protesting and standing firm or standing, ten in the sand, protesting what's going on? Or are the protesters are the Trumpsters actually going to unite and go? And I mean, it's
I get it.
a what if, but my thing is,
Yeah.
are your beliefs that strong that if it changes to that way, you guys would turn into what we see as the impeders for ICE? Would you guys now become those people?
Good question.
Well, yeah, that's a great question. Actually, nobody ever asked me, so I'm gonna answer that to the best of my ability. I would say we would protest, of course, but not in the protest perspective of what's happening now on the Democrat side. So we're establishing something to where we aren't the side that produces violence when it comes to protesting and stuff like that. So that's what we're really trying to stick to. So hopefully, if it would happen, you know what I mean, in the future, hopefully we would stick to what we're building right now, which I would say is somewhat of a solid foundation. Of course, any foundation has its faults and stuff like that. A foundation can't be built perfectly, you know, especially when there can be something on the inside within the Republicans, the deep state, so to speak, that could dismantle that or have some type of power to dismantle our foundation that the core of the Republicans are trying to build, at least. So I would say we wouldn't go to the extent of, um, where we're trying to attack ICE or law enforcement or something like that. I can't really see our side doing that. Of course, there's extremists on both ends that, where these people, just like you said, you guys are doing the silent protest and the guy was wilding out. We're always going to have those type of people, of course, on both sides, both ends of the spectrum. So I can't say it will never happen, but for what I would say is that, yeah, for example, now, so under the Trump administration, what we do, I'm involved within the Republican Party here locally. I'm also involved with Turning Point USA too, as well. We do debates on college campuses here locally, and so I'm a part of that. I'm in rooms with assemblymen and people. I just asked a question that garnered over 16,000 views when I asked the question to the potential candidate. He's actually in the lead
Okay.
to be governor here in California. So that's kind of going viral right now. So I'm in these rooms with these people and stuff like that. So I'm not saying whatever I'm saying is bond. My word is bond or anything like that.
Right.
But I'm pretty close to what we could have to do. So what we do is we don't hold protests. We hold what we call our rallies because protests are getting a bad rap. You know what I mean? Especially right now.
Got
So
it.
when we did a rally for Maha, which is RFK Jr.'s about the vaccines and the freedom and stuff as far as like healthcare and stuff like that, whether to choose to take the vaccines or not. We simply did a rally. You know what I mean? We weren't out there with bullhorns or anything like that. We just had our signs and people were disrespecting us and stuff like that. And we just stood firm. You know what I mean? Plain and simple. We stood firm. Of course, I'm particularly personally not the type of person who, if you bring violence to me, I'm really not going to let you get that close to impose any type of violence on me. That's just how I was raised. I'm pretty sure all three of us were raised similarly. If you
Right.
get in reach distance, dude, I got a quick jab. You know what I mean? Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Especially if you're coming with some malice. And I'm definitely have no problem taking the first punch on that. I'll eat up the consequence later. As far as if somebody's coming directly to me with malice, but
Right.
other than that, we throw what's called rallies. So that I hope that
Yeah.
answered the question. I try to answer it to the
Yeah.
best of my ability.
Okay. All
I
right. Well,
think I
thank
think
you
you answered it, but you know, let's your passion for the Republican Party as it is, whereas you would say, "Grandma, you got to go." Right? That's passion. That's conviction. That's your into it 100%. That passion in a group of 1,000
Yes.
that are telling now you're being policed and told what you're saying is wrong
Mm.
Okay.
will infuriate a lot of that thousand. Let's say 20% of that thousand is infuriated. And
Hmm.
then they try to get into people's ears and this, that, and third. And once one person yells, the other one yells, and everybody, ah! Now that yell puts those officers, boom,
Mm.
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
What the 300? Remember when
Word.
With the shows, yeah.
That's a good analogy, brother. Good
so
analogy.
I
now
like
you
that.
have the huffing and puffing being pushed from the back,
Mm.
right? You're in the front, but you're not the one pushing. You're being pushed and bumping, and you're gonna get the brunt of that situation. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Word.
That
Yeah.
occurs all the
So
time. So my thing is this: protesting rallies, whatever you want to call it. If you have, let's say, 10 to 20% of the people in that rally or protest that are so passionate that they get enraged at the mere
yeah,
sight of the ICE personnel, it causes these problems to escalate.
Mm.
it could
Escalate.
almost spread like a virus. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Exactly. So my thing is this: if the shoe is on the other foot, right? I believe that a lot of the same situations would occur. And
Mm.
not saying that that was your goal,
Yeah.
just saying that the passionate people that are not sitting in the front
Okay.
will cause the
I know.
problems.
All right. Speak
I
to
know
that.
how I could. I know how I could answer it a little bit better. So as far as what we're establishing the foundation right now, we're really trying to stick to logic and what part of the logic is what the law reads. So if if so the Democrat side and the liberals or whatever you want to call them are going against ICE right now, it's because personally they feel that ICE and the Republicans are going against their logic, right? So, but if you look down to the details, we're just trying to enforce the law. We're just trying to enforce the law. So I could see an instance where we can possibly act how they are acting in the future if their side is imposing illogical methods or illogical laws, possibly like Biden letting in 20 million illegal immigrants or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just for instance, so I could see a possibility, but for our side right now, as we speak, we're really trying to stick to logical things and trying to stray away from the emotion because emotion can dictate a lot of radical people's actions. And like you said, it can spread like
Wow.
a virus. So if 20% of the 1,000 people at a rally or a protest from our end, if that 20% um, are agitators, and then law enforcement starts attacking them because they're maybe throwing something at law enforcement, then law enforcement, there's a strong possibility that they might try to hem up people like me who are just regular people trying to protest, and then that's how it spreads. Boom, 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 boom. So I can understand that for sure, but I would say as the foundation that we're trying to establish right now, we're really trying to stick to logic. The only way I could see us doing something even close to what the liberal and the Democrat side are doing is that they really try to impose illogical tactics and illogical methods and illogical policies and laws.
All right. Okay. I like that. What you got to say to that,
My,
Renee?
my, my thing is,
I hear you.
in the days of segregation, the law was, right? Minorities, blacks, Hispanics, whatever. You drank from this fountain. Whites drank from this fountain. You go to this school. Whites go to this school. That was the law. And the people that were abiding by those laws believed that was logical,
Right.
right?
Facts.
They felt that was logical. You guys are below us. You get substandard living situations. We'll take whatever you're doing and we're going to destroy it. That was the law. And it was not frowned upon, right? It was applauded.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you're in the now, the laws make sense, right? The law, it's logical. Like, this is what the law says, so this is what they're doing. Doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's right.
Right.
Maybe in one day, people are going to look back at this and feel the same way and say, you know what? It's the same thing just happening over and over again.
Right.
That's why I always say, what happens when they're all gone? What are they going to look at and say, you know what? This needs to change as well. That's a scary feeling,
Yeah.
right? Because we it's unknown, but
Well,
they have to have an agenda. You know that, right? It's
facts.
an agenda. It has to be there.
And
They,
like you said, they putting a lot of money behind it.
right? There has to be a problem, right?
Has to be an issue.
So we can't get away from that. So that's what I'm talking about. That, as you say, you guys are being logical, and following the letter of the law, but it doesn't make it right in all situations.
Right. I agree.
Well, yeah, of course. That's where the technicalities come from, and then we could break it down further to if I would ask you like what's not right about it, and then we could go from there. You know what I mean? So
I'm sorry, you guys are freezing over here. So
Yeah, I think he's freezing. Yeah, you definitely froze, bro. Froze to the froze. Well, being that he froze, let me just bring another question to the floor. And if he can come back, if you can hear us, brother, you might need to tap out and tap back in because we can't hear you at all right now. Um, the next question will be this: Why is let me? I'm just going to put it up. Yeah. So why is engaging physically with police or ICE almost always a losing decision?
that's just facts. We know that.
Word.
You know what I mean? We know that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you see on YouTube and social media people getting in policemen's faces and things of that nature,
Mm-hmm.
um, trying to impose and do certain things. But bottom line is you're gonna lose,
Mm.
right? Even if you're filming them, they're walking around with cameras on their chest and they're still
Right.
beating the hell out of people
Literally.
and things. So
I heard a guy say
mhm.
something like, you know, what has to happen is we need to go out there and do this, that, and the third. Bro, I'm not doing nothing.
No,
Like you said, like the other person said on the chat, it's not my fight.
but that's town hall type of stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's where your voice is heard and everything else.
Town halls and the
All
courts.
type of things. We
Right.
don't go to these things. Like I
Right.
started going to the board meetings because I was a special education teacher and I saw so many things wrong
Mhm.
that I started going there and asking questions and everything else to the point that I ran for the board and I just put my name in. I actually didn't even campaign or anything.
Right.
I had about 2,500 people vote for me
Wow.
just for my name alone.
And but basically you became a part of the solution.
Yeah, well, I was trying to,
Right.
right? I was trying to.
Got it.
And my thing is, if you don't go to the powers that be and regulate and fix the powers that be, we're always going to be behind the eight ball.
Mm,
We're always going to be on the losing side, and
right.
it's sad, but it's true, you know. And we see it every day. And again, like they said, what I'm trying to see this. I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, when you mentioned it's gonna be, no matter what, it's gonna be a
No, I
losing
think they
battle.
haven't gone far enough because we've been held back by the judges, by the liberal judges that were put in by Biden and by Obama.
You're okay with those tactics?
Yeah, because you have to get the people out.
This sweeping multi-agency immigration campaign is spearheaded by the Department of Homeland Security and led by U.S. Customs and Border Protection Commander-at-Large, Gregory Bavino.
If someone strays into a pepper ball, then that's on them.
We wanted to find out, what do these confrontations
Wow.
reveal about the shifting tactics within ICE, CBP, and HSI? We asked Eric Ballier, a 25-year career federal agent who most recently led investigations.
I don't think protesters, I don't think civilians, I don't think regular, everyday American people understand the killer instincts that these people have when they go out there and protest. I don't think they understand it. I don't think they understand the seriousness in their hearts and in their mind as far as their mission is concerned. And this is why I believe people tend to be like, what's wrong with you? What are you doing? You don't care? Aren't you an American? I don't think they understand. It's a balance that's off. Like, for instance, you go into a fight where a person have all this artillery and you got a rock. And you literally throwing a rock at a person or at these people who have a mission. We hear people say all day long, they're negative, they're evil, they this, they that. If that's the case, why are you throwing a rock at them? That's my stance. And my stance, again, and I'm gonna stand 10 toes down. That's what I always say to my people. Look, I don't take your black ass out there talking about you. You know what I mean? And you going out there with a sign and trying to get people together. Why? It don't make sense. One person going to agitate something.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Jeremiah's trying to get in his phone.
Oh, he is? Okay. I see him now.
Yeah. But we can't, we also
You
can't.
need Jeremiah? No, I don't see him. He got to come back in. I don't see him. Let me see. Nope, I don't see him. All right, but go ahead.
He's on the chat. You got to send him the link again.
Oh, you ain't got the link, bro? All right. It's the same link. I'm going to send it to you again, my brother.
Send it again. That way you can.
All right, I'm going to send it again. Here it is, Jeremiah. Yeah, speak to that, brother.
I understand what you're saying, but we also can't just stand by and let things happen.
Of course, and I agree.
Again, let's go back to the whole, what's the next thing on their agenda after the fact? You know what I mean? So, yes, Jeremiah, same link.
Yep. I just sent it to you again in your inbox, bro. So let's watch a little more of this real quick. Let's see.
To use of force misconduct for ICE to tell us what he sees.
This isn't policing and law enforcement as I practiced it for 25 years.
Here's what we found out. In recent months, we've witnessed federal agents firing pepper balls and other less than lethal munitions downward into crowds from elevation, despite the fact that CBP guidance prohibits agents from intentionally targeting the head, neck, spine, or female breast. In this September incident, federal agents at the Broadview facility are seen standing several stories above protesters.
Yeah, I seen this one, man. This particular one, I know a lot of people was, their feathers was ruffled by this, the emotion was high, but they were actually standing in this facility, which is probably a headquarters of theirs, driveway. The driveway was an active driveway with the cars coming in and out. So I'm wondering, they saying stand back. Why aren't the people just standing back? And now like Jeremiah said, they were in the officer's face and everything, and they were just trying to cars just trying to come out. You know what I mean? And let's listen more to this situation because I'm surprised this
who
was here.
appear largely peaceful. We can see pepper balls exploding around the demonstrators.
I seen one guy turn his back to the guys on the roof, literally saying, "Shoot me. That's what you want to do? Go ahead, shoot me." I'm like, bro, you don't want that. Well, why are you saying? Speak to that, man. Speak to that.
Okay. Oh, sorry about that.
No, go ahead. You can go.
Apologize. My phone died. When I got into the answer, I seen it was 5 minutes, or it was 5%, and I guess it just died. I got it on the charger right now. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. I had to take my mic off because I got the charger in instead. You guys can hear me pretty good?
Yeah,
I hear you pretty good.
Okay, so I would say this is an instance where privilege is invisible to those who have it. So people who haven't really faced accountability a lot of times in their life. You know what I mean? So for the guy saying, "Shoot me," I have guns pulled. I've had a lot of guns pulled out on me, and been involved in a lot of street stuff in my past life. And dude, I would never say that. I would never ever say that. But that's because we have lived the experience. People like I and people who grew up like us in certain instances and situations and stuff. I would never ever say that. In those situations, I didn't even want that to happen. You know what I mean? By the grace of God, I'm still standing before you guys. So I would say it's an instance of privilege being invisible to those who have it. Also, with the caveat of people who haven't really faced real accountability.
Right. So Musa, peace and blessings. Thank you for tuning in. And yes, your question was, I thought this was going to be about ICE murder of Renee Good. We've been on for a little while, and we did speak a little bit on that. You can always go back and check that out, my brother, whenever you're ready. You want to pose a question to the floor, that's fine. You can do that. You can just go ahead and make a statement or question right now if you like. All right.
The thing is, it can go to the shooting, but we have to unpack everything else that goes along with that, right? In order for you to understand the narrative. We can't just sit there and talk about the shooting, and it's only for so long that we can sit on that.
Yeah.
And agree to disagree.
Right. That's
right?
deep. That's deep.
You have to go
My thing is to not help it to not happen again.
Well, for it not to happen again goes to what Jeremiah was saying. That privilege and the folks that don't know, it's like, okay, you have your tough guys. You talked about your past. You have your tough guys that you know that are tough guys, right? You know not to mess with them. Then you have the people pretending to be tough. The tough guy knows when to walk away, when to stop, when to,
when the odds are against him.
Acting like he's a tough guy doesn't know that.
Right.
Doesn't know the jargon.
Consequences.
Don't know, like what's good or you good, right? We know if somebody says, "Are you good?" that we don't know.
Word.
That's a red alert for you.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's a red alert. These folks don't know that.
They don't know that.
They don't know that.
They're getting into situations where, like, they're basically asking, "You good?"
Like, what's up? You good,
And
bro?
they're like this.
Yeah,
You good?
Right.
exactly. And then there's
And
a as men there's a small amount of time, a
Small
small increment
window.
of time,
Small
small
window.
window to where it could go left or right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Small window. There's a
Right.
quote in
5 second
the Art
decision I
of
keep
War.
talking about. That five
I
second
like that 5 second decision, man. That could
that can
change your
change
life.
your life.
Word.
5 seconds can change
One
your life.
quote
You know, so
Right.
One quote that I like in the Art of War, it says, "Better to be a gardener in a war than a warrior. I mean, better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war." You know what I mean? So I see all these people with privilege, the people saying, "Shoot me, Ice." You know, those are a bunch of gardeners in a war. You know what I mean? A bunch of people who has never faced adversity, maybe strongly, because if they have, then they wouldn't really say things like that. You know what I mean? For sure. Granted, I'm not saying everybody, because they do have some very reputable and respected veterans on their side that would say the same thing too. But it's because they already put themselves in a position they're willing to die for our country. So that's ingrained in their mind. You know what I mean? So, but
Right.
they're not people who have entitlement. Well, it's of course a little bit entitlement being a veteran and stuff.
Right.
You gave your life, but I respect veterans on both sides. No matter what, I'm more willing to sit there with a veteran that's on the Democrat side rather than these freaking gardeners in a war. You know what I mean? For sure. You know.
Do you think Mrs. Good wife or girlfriend help her get killed?
You want to give your perspective first, Renez?
Yeah, I can go with it. There was a lot going on. Some officers were telling her to go. Some officers were telling her to stay. You have her wife on the other side saying all these things to them. And that's
Drive,
just,
baby, drive.
yeah, drive, baby, drive, right? And telling her, go, go. They said to go, go. Like when she said that, now we have to, again, start talking about you had to be in the situation. You had to be there kind of thing.
Right. Right.
Did she hear the officer tell her, drive, get out the way? And that's when she said it? Or when the officer was approaching her and she saw her in harm's way, she said, drive, baby, drive.
Right.
Well, there's two
Oh,
ways that could have went.
right. But because the thing is, she was looking like aggressive. Talking to the officer. You want to
The
come at us?
wife.
You want to come at us?
The
Right.
wife.
Yeah,
You want to come
definitely.
at us? You want to come at us? No, I don't think you better go get lunch, boy.
So, yeah,
And mention also her military background.
no.
I think I remember her saying that as well. Speak to that.
Go ahead, Jeremiah. The floor is yours, sir.
Yes, I would say, yes, the wife took a part in what happened. I would say the wife took a part in what happened for sure because
People saying, no, she didn't. It doesn't matter. She ain't deserve to die.
I would say, yeah, they're completely delusional. Um, as are people who are like her wife. You know what I mean? I'm sad to say that may be my personal opinion or not,
Mhm.
but a lot of these non-binary people and stuff like that, they got some things going on in their heads, man. They got some past trauma or something like that. You know what I mean? Which takes play to where, especially a woman trying to act like a man, they feel the need to. They feel the need.
Mm.
That's an important word. They feel the need to be more aggressive and more pumped up and stuff like that. I would say the Renee Good, she was more of the femme one, I guess they would say. You know what I mean? Out of them, where she did have a shaved head, but yeah, she's still like dressed like somewhat of a woman. The wife or the girlfriend who was outside of the truck, she's more of like the what they would say the dominant or the dom, whatever their lingo is.
The stud.
To where the stud, she would have to, she's the one who wears the pants pretty much. So
Right.
and then with two women combating in a relationship like that, it's like, okay, well, I see my wife acting like that, I got to amp it up too. You know what I mean? It's almost like a competition, and there's a big reason why a lot of lesbian relationships don't last, and the domestic violence report rates are higher than even gay men
I've seen
relationships.
that.
You know what I mean?
I've seen those reports. Yeah, that's deep. Speak to that, my brother, far as the wife having agitated the situation for her wife or girlfriend to be unalived.
I believe she was a big distraction and in the total, situation.
Mm,
She was bringing attention to herself without recording. So, it wasn't defending the wife. You wouldn't have your camera out, filming stuff if you're defending your wife or what have you.
Yeah.
I don't know as much as her bravado, trying to act like a man. I don't know if I agree with that, but I do agree with the fact that she was a major distraction in the situation where orders were being given, and the driver, Miss Renee, could have been distracted, listen for her, being concerned for her, and trying to pay attention to what orders were being given. So again, the situation is what we see is not always what it is. Um, so I stand firm on it, where I say, I don't believe she should have died. That's where I disagree with Jeremiah. But
no, I don't think
So
Jeremiah believes.
I also don't believe. Yeah, I also don't
Yeah, I
believe
don't
she
think
should
he
have died.
believes.
right,
Yeah.
but my thing is there were so many elements to this situation where it could have went astray, and it did. And for us to sit here and debate it, and give our opinion, that's all it is our opinion.
Right.
We weren't in these people's heads. We didn't see prior to the happenings prior to. Maybe that would have gave us, if they show footage before the engagement,
Yeah. I
what
think they
happened,
did.
Yeah,
but
there's a video. There's a video out. Yeah.
like further back, right?
Further
There's
back,
a
yeah.
3 minute long video.
All right, or show me proof that she was chasing after ICE and she was stalking ICE. All those things come to play. You can't just make a statement and say this, that, and the third without proof.
Right.
Right? Again, the letter of the law doesn't allow you to do that. So so right now, when that situation, it needs to be. We have to see how it unfolds. We have
Right.
to see what's going to happen next. The
You're
president
right.
gave him a pass, right? He said, she's a terrorist, and he acted accordingly, and there's not going to be an investigation. There should
Mm,
there should always be an investigation in a shooting,
word.
right? There should always, regardless of the fact, because you know what? That plays to the officer doing what he had to do, or the officer not doing what he was supposed to do. That's just something that happens at every shooting,
Yeah,
right?
that's something I agree with.
Right. It's not left to, like, if you're so sure he was within his rights to use deadly force, then you allow the investigation to occur in order
Yeah,
to,
give him the clear. Give him
right?
the clear if that
Yeah.
happens. Yeah.
By no doubt, he was clear to do what he was supposed to do.
Right.
To allow him to skate without that happening brings you to the conspiracy theories
Yes.
of things being done, not to the letter of the law, applying some laws but circumventing others, which does occur,
Right.
right? But the fact still remains that in this situation and in this temperament and this the pulse of the nation, allowing him not to be investigated or the investigation not to happen makes you say, they're trying to hide something.
Right. Go
And
ahead, Jamar.
in fact, you know, if he was within his rights, letter of the law, like Jeremiah says,
Word.
then there should have been no doubt. It should have happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That investigation should have
That
happened.
part I do agree with.
You know,
I strongly agree with that. I mean, you would be an illogical person if you didn't agree with
Word.
that. You know what I mean? There has to be some follow up. There can't just be a cold cut. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nope.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There got to be some investigation. If there's people like I or people on the other side that at least will give a definitive something substantial to be like, well, they did an investigation, they cleared him, or they did an investigation and he it was wrongful or something like that. You know what I mean? And
Right.
then we could have a different conversation. So like my brother Renez said right now, we could say this or that, our opinions, and or at least what are the facts or quote unquote facts that are out now up to date. But there clearly isn't all the information.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there isn't, like I said at the beginning, there isn't there's some witness statements saying that she was stalking or following them, but there's nothing really definitive, and that would be found within an investigation. So we could find out definitively if she was, if an investigation was implemented. So we could only go so far without the information out there, you know, especially necessary information, you know. So we could only grasp what we know, like as far as like her being a part of this group that actually is confirmed. I forgot, I don't know the name of the group off top, but there's members within the group that had confirmed that already. And as far as like her moving to Canada when Trump elected and then moving to Minnesota to aid, that's confirmed, you know. And then we have these video breakdowns, and it's then we could go from there and stuff like that. So,
Right.
but even with all this that's out, it's really limited if you think about it in an investigation aspect. You know what I mean? In the eyes of an investigation, it's nearly not enough to say this is definitive or that is definitive. You know what I mean? So we have to go for now, since there's no investigation, on what we have. You know what I mean? And the criteria fits that the officer was sticking to the law. I want to make something clear too. Within the 8 U.S. Code 1357 that I quoted earlier, it also says that the officers don't have to react with hindsight. Obviously, 2020 hindsight, you're not going to know
Right.
what's going to happen after based on maybe his past traumatic event
Mhm.
or maybe something that happened that he knows about an event, something similar, like, okay, this happened in that event, so I got to act accordingly like this. So it's in the moment, and that's where it's vague for these officers. Well, I use deadly force
Question.
because, you know,
Question.
we all know that somebody could say, well, I felt like I was going to die or
Right.
something like that. We
Right.
all know that. But as
Question
far
for
as
both
with the
of you.
evidence, go ahead.
Question for both of you. Should he go to jail?
only an investigation.
No, I'm talking about from your perspective, not dealing with
I
whatever.
I can't answer a
For
definitive
killing
yes or no
this young lady.
because again, there was no investigation. We're seeing what we're getting, right? Other things are going to come up. You know,
Yeah.
you're going to have
Yeah.
like the Big Brother cameras, the rings, and everything else catching little things,
Yep.
and clever editing is going to be a problem
Said
as
clever
well
editing.
on both sides, right? On
Right.
both sides,
Yes.
because I believe that happens on both sides.
Yeah.
But you know, the fact still remains: should he go to jail? He is an American citizen who, by law, deserves a trial, deserves to defend himself. He deserves all that. You can't take that from him
Mm.
because what? Then they'll take it from us. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm.
So he deserves a trial. An investigation should have happened. That would have happened. Everything would have been put up front, and we could walk away saying, "Yeah, you know what? He was within his rights. No, he wasn't. He needs to go to jail, or a consequence should happen. He should be sitting at a desk right now. He should not
Word.
be actively engaging
He
with
shouldn't be on
anyone.
duty right now.
because you know what?
I got an answer.
He just killed someone, right?
Right.
Um, and I'm not saying it was justified or not justified. Just a traumatic experience of you taking a life. You should be sitting at a desk for a little bit, or have
Yeah,
mandatory time off before you sit there and engage somewhere, because now he might be um, non
amped up.
non-reactive to a
Right.
situation that merits
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
aggression. So at least that should be happening. To
Got
see
it.
this man back in active duty
Yeah. It's
is a
horrible.
is a tell of where we at as a system, right? With ICE,
And it almost like he about to get
he
off.
should not be there. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So if I
yeah,
see that, then I see, okay, they're following, at least following that, where they're giving this guy a time to decompress and analyze the situation more,
Right.
rather than sticking him back in and being gun ho about it. Nah, you good. Let's go. It kind of changes things, because you know what? Now, in other officers' perspectives, they'll say, well, damn, I can be that aggressive and get away with
He
it.
get off.
And maybe he won't. You know what I mean? Get away
True.
with it or
I can
anything else.
see that. I
Because
can see that.
we didn't follow protocol. Protocol
Right.
was not followed in this situation. And that's the biggest problem of the shooting. The
Right.
biggest problem of the shooting isn't if she was right or the officer was right or anything else. It was that no investigation was happened. It was brushed off as her being a terrorist, and let's move on.
Wow. Good answer.
Yeah,
All right.
see, so I agree with that last part that my brother Renez said, because that's happened with any officer, even local officer. They go through a shooting, and especially somebody who was killed in the midst of that shooting. They take some chill time. You know what I mean? Whether it's at a desk, whether it's some family time, they go through therapy thing and all that. You know what I mean? I know that for sure.
Right.
For the most part, from my knowledge. But as far as the question you imposed, should he be in jail? I could say, based on what we have now, no, he shouldn't. And I would say also too, there's really nothing that shows that he should, at least
Mm.
what we have now. So that's the only reason why. It's just my opinion. My brother Renez can't say this or that. You know what I mean? He's not solidified in the answer like that, because there's nothing that fits why he should. You
Okay.
know what I mean? So if you mention like he should have chilled and stuff like that, yeah, that's not really debatable, of course. But even if he didn't chill, that doesn't mean that he did it and he should be in jail. Or but as far as hypothetically, if there's we could only base thing if the investigation can only go off of what we have now, then he wouldn't be in jail. You know
Mm.
what I mean? And he shouldn't be in jail.
But
Right.
the policies and procedures now become subjective, right? Because now, there's policies where they're not supposed to shoot someone in a vehicle or whatnot, right? Not subjective. It's his feelings, right? What he felt at that time, what
Mhm.
she felt at that time. There's a lot of policies in ICE that negate what you're saying, right? If
Well,
you if
kind
you
of.
if you look at it through a different lens, I'm saying,
Got it.
right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're saying in that video, there's nothing that indicates that he should be under reprimand or jailed or anything else, or found guilty of anything. But through a different lens, looking at the situation, right? Knowing our past trauma and looking at the policy and procedures that are in play for ICE, someone may look at it and say, yo, he was dead wrong, right?
Yeah.
There were contradicting orders being happening. There was a distraction on the other side. He has this trauma of being dragged 100 yards, which I couldn't even imagine being dragged 100 yards by
Yeah.
a car. All those are factors, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you're wrong. By no means I'm saying you're wrong. But what I'm saying is you they could be right as well.
Got it.
The
Yeah.
other perspective could be right as well. And we'll
Right.
never know. We'll never
I
know
will.
because it was circumvented.
I just want to add too a little caveat on the vagueness of him feeling like, well, I feel like my life was in danger. Obviously, that it's vague on that. But the feeling of him has to match up with the evidence. And I would say in this instance, the feeling of him and his life being in danger matches the evidence. To the tires spinning out when she first starts going forward, they start spinning out when they're straight towards him. And as the officer, from his point of view, you can't see the tires where they're, you know what I mean? By the time she was shot, and yes, there was one shot in the front, and then the other two, I think it's three total, right? Is it three or four?
Three.
And then the other two,
on the side.
the other two were staggered, offset. Yeah. So, but that's just okay. Three shots. We could be like, okay, one forward. Maybe that one was justified. Like just looking from the other lens, opposite of mine. Maybe that one was justified, but the other two, oh, completely not. That's just the opposite thinking of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you play it all in whole, less than a second, those three shots were made. At the same time that the car, the 2,000-pound vehicle, tire spinning out going, you know what I mean? So that's the reason why obviously her foot was still on the gas pedal, why it accelerated and completed the right turn. But when the tires first started spinning, you hear an engine revving. The vehicle first is going forward when the tires start spinning, and then as you see, as like almost simultaneously as that first shot is going off, the wheels are slightly towards the right.
But there was a comment. There was a comment that Renee said.
Okay.
As that, oh man.
Renee or Marie?
Renee made a comment to the officers that
Marie or Marie? Oh,
Renee made a comment to the officer like it's okay or you don't have to. I forget what the comment was.
Yeah, when they were recording, yeah, when they were recording her, she said, I believe she said, "It's okay, you can record."
Right.
So she said, "Oh, it's okay," which I was watching this video of a psychological analysis breaking down this video too as well. He's saying as soon as she said that, the officer's demeanor is like, okay, she's fine. Let me revert to what I think the actual possible threat could be, which was the wife. Right. That's why and then she's antagonizing agitating on the outside too, recording. As you said, my brother Renez, that she's not even caring about her wife. She's pretty much being selfish. You know what I mean? We could agree to that. So the psychological analysis analyzer, what he said is that his attention thought that Renee was cool until he goes around, and he didn't want to be in a potential crossfire when he was on the back passenger side. So he migrated to the front passenger side until the officer said, "Get out," and he seen that she was trying to get her out. That's when he made his move that way. And then that's where his attention reverted back to Renee Good. So yeah, so I agree with you. Her comment softened him and took his attention off her, because of course we could come into play his PTSD or something when he got dragged by the car. His initial attention was on Renee Good. So once she softened him with that comment, and she didn't look aggressive, honestly saying it, and her tonality too as well, it wasn't high pitched. It was actually more on a lower chord. Right. That kind of brings peace to the mentality, especially as an officer in a potential dispute like that. Okay. And I'm pretty sure, as with military background, my brother David, you could probably attest to that too as well. It's all about environment, tonality, all these things come into play. So he reverts his attention from her to the wife, then back to Renee Good when he's seen the potential threat heighten. You know, telling her to get out. You hear the engine rev, right? Tires spinning, which he couldn't see the tires spinning. Where the vehicle evidently, struck his body, or at least made contact with his body. Right, now, so they say there's reports to internal bleeding. I haven't really confirmed that. I just read on that right before we started the podcast. So
I heard from, just people just talking on, he was just swiped. He wasn't even hurt.
Yeah.
But
so supposedly there's like a nurse and a doctor, like an official report that the DOJ, I don't know if they put the report out, but they said that supposedly some internal bleeding, and that I can admit that could be something used to maybe downplay the opposite narrative that I have. So I can agree to that. Yeah. I just haven't I literally just seen that probably 15 minutes before we started the podcast.
Yeah. I mean,
And of course, you know something like that could come into play. You know,
Right.
from both sides. I could admit that.
we're gonna have measures of justification occurring with this
There we
situation,
go.
right?
Coming up,
So there's gonna be talks about he was hurt, or she hit him, or it's all how the lens frames it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the lens is gonna frame it a certain way to solidify that narrative.
What laws do
It's like us
protesters?
writing. It's like us writing a paper.
Mhm.
We're only going to look for um, information that supports our thesis, right? That's all we're going to look for. We're going to circumvent everything that doesn't support
Mm.
that. We're going to just put that to the side because my job isn't to prove that there's flaws here. That's up to I have to be able to defend my thesis in front of a classroom with the professor hitting me with left and rights, talking about this is a punch, that's wrong, that's wrong,
Right.
right? So that's what's going to happen now. We're going to be lost in now conspiracy theorist type of
Yeah.
situations,
Yeah.
passionate, mega passionate, democratic type of situation. We're gonna be just bombarded with different types of issues and
Yeah.
narratives. And again, clever editing is gonna come to play.
Word. I can see that. I can see that. So, what actions turn a protest from peaceful into something authorities can legally shut it down?
The Rock,
The rock, the can, the bottle.
exactly what you said before. The Rock,
Word. What laws do protesters break often, but don't even realize it?
The Rock. Go back to The Rock,
Yeah.
right? That's an assault.
Yeah. Even what about the in the face?
In the face,
Oh
personal,
yeah.
anything else like that. I believe a push to get out my face because you know what? Now you're changing things to
Right.
I'm in your face,
Do you
spewing
think a
stuff,
protester should be
and everything else is
on?
coming on.
Do you think a protester should be up on an officer yelling and screaming in their
No.
face?
I think there should be
Because
a 3 foot distance. You can yell and say whatever you want
Right.
3 feet away, right? That's your right. Okay, you believe that's your right? 3 feet away, being in someone's face, an officer's face, right? Who is just came to work, and
Right.
this is what he was ordered to do.
Right.
He might be agreeing. He might be sitting there agreeing with everything you say.
Right.
Everything that's happening, that officer's sitting there going, but I agree with everything they're saying.
Right. Right.
Why is this person in my face and everything
Right.
else? That same officer
You piece of shit.
will push that person out of the way because you're fucking sitting there talking about you're a piece of shit and I'm fucking agreeing with everything you're doing.
Right. You
Right?
get in my
Yeah.
face. Right.
So that can happen. And then the opposite as well.
Right.
But being in someone's face, we from the hood.
Right.
That's not allowed.
Well, it's not even.
You being in somebody's face.
It's just a
Just
human.
us.
You're still human. You're still
Just
human at
us,
the end of the
right?
day.
Just
Right.
us. No authority or anything.
Right.
You're not gonna come in my face like that.
Right.
Now I am a police officer. I'm here to protect you, right? I'm here to make sure you don't cross that line. Stay back. They're with the shields or whatever. Stay
Right.
back. Once you come into these people's faces and start talking and everything else,
The
and you're
book
that
thing.
close,
The book thing
once
goes out the window.
listen, our nose can touch.
Word.
That's not an Eskimo kiss.
That's
That's not an Eskimo kiss. That's you touching. It changes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It changes.
Yeah,
Changes
it
everything.
changes things.
So,
Yeah.
so again, let's go back to where we started. You know, aggressor, non-aggressor. Um, it's all part of the narrative of perspective. And it's not
Right.
going to change.
Right.
Right, wrong, or different. It's not going to change
Right.
because what? The protocol was circumvented.
Mm.
And that's the biggest problem I
That's the
have with
biggest
this
situation.
situation.
Right.
Right? We can talk about ICE policies and laws. There's always loopholes. There's always ways to change things and
Right.
the narratives in that sense. We did not get justice for this woman
Right.
or for this officer because it was not investigated. The investigation didn't occur.
Mm.
Bottom line,
Bottom line.
that's the problem because
Yeah.
now it's looked at in so many different ways.
Word.
Now, exactly. So now they could put that on Republican side. Well, there was no investigation. You know what I mean? And to clear the guy. So how do you know? So that's
And
just
then, and then
another.
on the people opposing, because I'm not going to say
Exactly.
Democrats or whatever, they're opposers. It could be looked at as, you know what, she didn't get a fair shake.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. It
And
goes
so
both ways.
that's the biggest problem I have with this situation
Wow.
because it wasn't investigated, and we will never know if he was within his rights or wasn't. Was she wrong or wasn't? Right? An independent investigation should have occurred.
Mm.
And
Do you
facts
think?
are
Do
facts.
you think ICE should wear masks?
No.
As far as the mask, personally, I would say, yeah. I would say before all of these things, no. But ICE attacks have been up 1,000%, I believe Tom Homan said.
Oh.
Then wear a
So
shield.
say again.
Then wear a shield.
Okay, so that also prevents mobility, and now you only have one arm to use and stuff like that. So as far and then the whole crew can't have shields when you're
No.
five, six
Shield,
deep.
the shield guard, the
Talking about the
helmet,
shield.
Oh, the actual
Yeah.
face shield.
face
Right.
shield. A
But
No,
shiesty
I'm
shield.
talking.
he
I'm
talking
not talking about
mask.
physical attacks. I'm talking about the doxing, the doxing. So there's a lot of these addresses. There was actually an app that they done away with now. I think they are investigated the guy or maybe making some arrest or something because they're trying to link an ICE attack to this app that we're watching that were keeping tabs on ICE. And
Mm.
there was an attack that came from it, and that attacker um, had this app on his phone, and he was engaging with specific groups through this app too as well. When an ICE, so I'm not talking about like the physical attacks because yeah, of course you can wear a shield, face shield. I agree with that for sure as far as the physical attack, but I'm specifically speaking on the doxing. So there's hundreds of ICE agents addresses that have been leaked and stuff like this, not just from this app, but people doing their own independent research, you know what I mean, against ICE, the anti-ICE movement and stuff like that. So that's why I would say as far as the masks. But before all of that happened and started happening, then I would say no, just show your face, man. You know what I mean? Show your face, plain and simple. Just like local law enforcement, they don't wear the shiesties and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it would
Right.
be the same way. But I would say since the attacks have been amped up, then I would say it's completely necessary.
So how many attacks actually occurred behind this?
Uh, I
What
could look it up right now. I
yeah,
just had it before my phone died. Let me look it up.
how many attacks on
On the
ICE
ICE.
agents' homes have occurred compared to
I know for sure. Oh, then I know for sure. There's been over 100 ICE people ramming reports of people ramming ICE. Oh, let me get the hold on.
I'm talking about basically
Maria,
like a home invasion.
right. Maria said.
Oh, as far as the home invasion, well,
Right.
that's obviously extreme. But
Mhm.
but getting, I would probably say probably not a lot or none, maybe.
Maria said
But
yes. Maria said yes. The mask is to protect them. I should wear their mask. It's to protect them. She said.
It's concealing their identity.
We talking about the
Yes.
identity, not just
It's concealing
protecting
their
their
identity. A mask, the shiesties are being worn to
Mhm.
conceal their identity, right?
Right.
That sometimes gives officers carte blanche because you know what? You don't know who I am, so I can do whatever I want.
True. True.
Right?
Kind, yes,
It makes you,
yes. From the perspective of the not to cut you off, brother. From the perspective of the protester or the agitator, whatever we want to call them. But as far as being reprimanded for doing something because you think you could get away with it internally from through the agency, there's repercussions for stuff like that. Of course, obviously, so I can see how people like us, citizens or the protesters, can think that, and maybe there's some officers, I can't really put it past them and say no officers would think that wearing
Right.
the shiesty and stuff like that. They'll
the
probably amp up
repercussions
and get a
are
little bit
few and
aggressive.
far between. The
Yes,
repercussions are
exactly.
few and far between because you know what? In an instant where it goes awry, right? It goes astray, and everybody's happening, and they're throwing people down, and they're pepper spraying and shooting, whatever they have to do. Um, it's so chaotic in that situation, and because of the masks, you can't identify the ones that are using excessive force.
Mm.
You can't identify the ones that are wilding out and throwing the people on the ground so aggressively that they're giving concussions and things of that nature. That woman in the video was putting a peace sign while he was yoking her up.
Mm.
What happened before that, I don't know. But
Right.
she was not resisting arrest. She was throwing peace signs, and he was still
Yeah.
had a chokehold on her. This
Mm.
is what I'm
There's
saying.
there's a there's a video too that kind of goes into play where I don't know if it happened a couple of weeks ago where they said an ICE agent was dragging a pregnant lady. I'm not sure if you guys seen that in the
Yeah.
snow
Yeah.
in Minneapolis, I believe. Yes, she dragging the pregnant lady. Well, he obviously didn't know she was pregnant right then and there, even if she claimed I'm pregnant. But things
Yeah,
happen.
but
They
my
say
thing is,
something.
why
So
are you out there?
exactly. So there's that too. But even beyond
Why are you
that
out there?
is that the video actually shows, the media only shows that video when she's getting dragged. They didn't show when the officers telling her before they got hands on, get down, get down, get down on the ground, blah blah. When they were doing their whole spiel and stuff like that. So the media didn't. But the full video shows, yeah, she was given lawful orders and she wasn't abiding by them, and she didn't say she was pregnant until she was dragged already.
Right.
Well, I mean, again, sometimes you
And then one man is struck
Hold
in
on,
the
I'm sorry.
head, a tactic Ballier says is not in line with training.
Pepper balls and less than lethal munitions, in my training experience, are never shot at the head,
Straight
neck, or
headshot,
solar
man.
plex area. So to have these rounds impact someone in the face, in the head, in the neck, runs the risk of serious injury, death, or unintentional consequences. My professional assessment is that they are elevating the force to a degree that is excessive.
We sat down.
it's like the
I
GI
would
bullets.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the days with the
I would say I want to say that is every shot going to be accurate? Of course not. You know what I mean? Especially if they're going by what Brother Renee said, where they're taking 6 weeks training in to get in.
Right.
You know what I mean? Type of stuff like that. Also, to claim it is excessive, I would have to disagree with that because that would mean that it's the reports of or that actually happening is surpassing, like surmounting, you know what I mean, before the statistics before. Now, if we want to speak on the attacks of ICE specifically, it has increased 1,300%,
That's right.
by the time it was 2026, from the time that Trump got into office all the way to now, 1,300%. So we could actually say that the attacks on ICE are actually excessive. You know what I mean? So with the guy, I don't know if that was the same guy that he got shot in the eye and possibly blind. I don't know if that was the guy, But I seen another video, same complexion type of guy, where he said he's possibly going to lose his vision.
Right.
So even if those were two separate events, that's two out of how many bullets that's been shot, thousands of bullets, you know what I mean, or the rubber ammunition or the salt ammunition, whatever it is, the less lethal ammunition, you know. So that's two instances, you know what I mean, of that happening out of thousands of bullets. So I wouldn't call that excessive. Now with the ICE attacks ramping up, I would call that excessive based on the statistic.
But in that video, they're on the roof.
Right.
They're shooting down. I don't
Down.
understand, and that was a hub, correct? That was an ICE hub. I don't understand why there weren't people on the ground.
What do you mean?
Why was the
Oh,
ICE
like the ICE agents on the ground?
agents on the ground getting these people?
They were.
Yeah, there was some.
But
It was
there
a
was
few.
some, but it should have been more than that.
It was a
Where-
few. I seen
where
about
the shooting shouldn't
12.
have they shouldn't have had to shoot. You're at the
Oh
hub.
yeah, I know what you're talking
so
about.
many-
As far
you
as the
have so many-
accuracy,
yeah.
yeah, it should have
You
been the
should
people
have
on the floor shooting.
During the shooting, got you.
I understand
There
that.
was, there was though. There was. I seen a guy actually shooting a woman on the ground with the damn thing a few times.
But that's
You know?
what
Yeah,
I'm saying the ICE agents, rather than being on the roof, should have
Right.
came down and accosted the people that were, blocking the driveway, rather than being up
No, there was.
and
There was.
utilizing.
I seen the video. I seen the whole video. It was. There was a
No,
lot of
that's
ice.
what I'm trying to say. You should have instead of being on the roof,
Right.
all hands should
Right.
have been on deck.
Got it.
And these
On
people
with
in
the
order.
commander
Now,
at
if
large of the operation,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Gregory Bavino, just a few feet away from where this incident actually happened, to ask him directly about his federal agents' actions. Chief, I do want to show you some of what I'm talking about. I'm curious if that is proper use of force.
Sure, absolutely. The use of that less lethal device, a pepper ball, was absolutely in line with policy, and I applaud them for protecting that federal facility there.
It's like when people say,
No, but you should run it a little bit more.
go ahead. Okay. I'm
Run
gonna
it
do
a
that.
little bit more to
I got
when
you.
he says if
Aiming above the waist is within policy?
It can be a facility there.
Aiming above the waist is within policy?
It can be. If someone strays into a pepper ball, then that's on them. Don't protest and don't trespass. And the use of force that I've seen has been exemplary.
You think use of force here at Broadview has been exemplary?
I do.
Next, we looked at videos
Wow.
of pepper spray, also known as OC spray, being deployed into protesters' faces, which DHS policy says can be deployed if a subject is offering active resistance.
And see, and it's the thing that civilians, regular people don't really know. And they walk themselves in these situations without, and we say, why are they doing that? These are in their rule book that we don't know. You understand?
and I think it's for a purpose too, especially with the Democrat side. It's for a purpose to not tell their protesters those things, so it can be heightened and hyped up and displayed across the media as
You
if
mentioned
something was
emotionalism.
done
You
wrong.
for emotionalism?
Again, I don't believe we should be talking about it as Democrats and Republicans. I
Right.
should be talking about law enforcement
Right and wrong.
and community.
Community. Right?
Yeah,
Because you mentioned Democrats and Republicans, we have to take it away from that,
Yeah.
because that's
Yeah.
not what's happening here. We're having a police agency, and we have the community,
Right.
how things are being handled there.
Right.
Republicans and
It's not,
Democrats.
it's not political. It's not political.
No, it's not. It's not. It's
It's becoming
politically based.
Right.
It's politically based, right?
Right.
Because this was something that the president wanted to happen.
Right.
But now
Now
we're
we're
talking
talking
about
moral and principle.
like people that were in the military, in the shit, downrange, right? You're in the shit right now. So that's what we should be discussing. It shouldn't be the Republicans or the Democrats are doing this. No, we're talking about humanity. We're talking about
Humanity, right.
human beings being aggressive against other human beings, whether it's the protesters or the police. That's where we should stick to. We shouldn't go upstairs when it comes to this, right? We
Right.
shouldn't go upstairs.
Okay, I
There's
could
a
see it.
difference.
I
There's
could
a
see
I
it
get
from
your
that
point. I
perspective.
get your point.
I could
Yeah.
see it from that
No
perspective.
doubt.
I could place it in this perspective though, to where the mindset of these people and what the policies that they are protesting fall in the lines of democratic socialist really um mindsets, you know what I mean,
You got
as far as
wannabes.
radicalism.
You got wannabes in there. You got people like that man was sitting there asking to be shot. You have
Right.
people that want
Yeah.
to have a wound so they can tell a tale at the
Right. I
pub
was
or
there.
raise their shirt and say,
Viral
"Look,
moments.
this is where it happened. Where you know how this happened? I was protesting against da da da." You have the wannabes
Hmm.
as well. You have the people, most of the people that are
For the
shot in
limelight too, the limelight.
Yeah.
yeah.
Viral moments.
So they want to go viral. You have people like that that will put
Yeah.
themselves in harm's way in order to get that viral
Tension.
moment,
Hmm.
right? And they want
Yeah.
to be. Then you have the real protesters that are sitting there with their signs, and rallying and saying whatever the hell they want to say, but they're not them. They're not the ones that turn it around and say, shoot me.
Mm.
Brother, if you want to get shot, stand with your chest out. Right or wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shoot me.
Right.
Right? Not, you want to shoot me? Raising his shirt, shoot me.
Right.
If you're going to shoot me in the back.
Right.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So you have those people that are doing this for viral moments and to be seen and to be like looked at as martyrs and things of that nature. No.
I do wanna add too something that I haven't said yet. I was almost gonna say it earlier, but my phone died. Um, as far as the funding of these protests now, with the big, like the No Kings, for example, the No Kings protest, it's I wouldn't say it's proven or confirmed because it's really hard to prove money when it's funneled down from NGO to NGO to NGO to where it leads to. You know what I mean? That's how all this fraud and stuff happens. But a lot of it leads to somebody who we probably are familiar with, George Soros. You know what I mean? Who's a billionaire on the Democrat side that funds these things that may necessarily not be democratic ideologies. It just might be like how you're trying to explain, my brother Renes, like where it's just humanity on humanity, moral versus immoral or something like that. You know what I mean? But there's these people on the Democrat side that fund these type of things through these NGOs, and it's hard to really trace it back. You know
But
what I mean?
that's on
Now we're
both
getting
sides.
into conspiracy theory. Yes, it's on both sides. But what's producing the violence? What we're talking about now? That's what I'm saying.
But you could
So
even go to the fact that on the other side, on the red side, they're funding people to be parts of this protest and escalating. You could say that.
okay,
It's
I
not
can
like
see that.
it's not
I
like
can
it's
see
never
that.
been done. Right?
It's
It's not
been
like it's
done.
never
It's
been done.
definitely been
I could
done.
see that. I could see that because, like, even if we want to take it to January 6th, now there's with the quote unquote insurrection, so to speak. There's documentation now stating that specifically the Democrats didn't want to admit it, but they had agents undercover infiltrated within the crowd, encouraging, hey, jump through, you know what I mean, through the window, let's get the window down. There's video footage of an officer too, that's a confirmed officer, I believe, not FBI, CIA, I think, that he was caught on camera pulling down one of the windows to the Capitol, and as soon as he seen somebody film, he backed up. And then he just pretty much he was acting like he was a civilian. He was dressed like a
There you go.
civilian, just like everybody else. Yeah. And then after that, then he tried to, like hem somebody up or something like that. But there's documentation now. and they had to admit that there was some infiltration within that crowd. So that's the only reason why I could say I could agree to that the red side even funding a protest or two or something like that. I would never put it past big government.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what we have to look at as well. You know, we have to look at how we're being manipulated in certain factors. It's there. You know what I'm saying? The disregard for human rights and being brushed off, things being brushed off
Right.
within our establishment. That's really occurring. You know what I mean? And again, it's a scary feeling.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I really appreciate you guys
It's
coming on here, man, and chopping it up and giving your views and your perspective on
appreciate it. We
everything,
appreciate
man.
it.
It just means a lot, man, because I like to get everyone's perspective on things, and so that we can come to some type of conclusion of basically what like I said, for this particular show. I wanna make sure a lot of people don't go out there and talking about let's go protest and don't know what not to do. You know what I mean? Real talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we always talk about, like I always say, we always talk about what they do and what they can't do, but what about what people shouldn't do when
Hmm.
they're out there? So not to allow this
I
to
agree.
happen
That's a
again.
nice way to end it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
real
where
I
talk.
like that.
we all
If
agree.
we could give like a couple closing remarks from
Yeah,
my side and my brother's
yeah,
side, just
go
to
ahead.
plug
Go,
some
go ahead.
socials, that's
Make it
fine.
happen. Yes.
Yeah, brother.
This is these are the type of conversations that I wish I could have often. You know what I mean? Honestly, because it's very productive, and we see a lot of aspects on each side. You know what I mean? My brother Renez opened my eyes to a few things, and I'm hoping it did the same too as well. And it was very respectful. These type of high, I would say, call this a very high IQ conversation. Not a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people flaked. Not a lot of people could last almost 3 hours, and we were talking even
Word.
before the live.
Word.
You know what I mean? And hit off these things off the top of their
Right.
head, policies and all that. This is a very high IQ conversation, and I really hope to have a lot of these type of conversations in
No
the
doubt.
future, whether it's on this podcast or just in the world in general. These are the type of
Right.
conversations I go for. So you
No
guys could follow me if you guys want to add me on
Will do.
Facebook. It's Jeremiah Aranda, Aranda. I'm tagged in the Facebook. Also on Instagram, Unreasonable Clout, which is a play off of Jay-Z, of course. Unreasonable Clout.
Word.
And then also on YouTube, Unreasonable Clout Pod.
All right. I appreciate that, brother. Thank you, man. What about
Yeah.
you, my brother? Renez.
I concur. I think
Right.
this was productive. I think this allowed us to see both sides without the yelling and the finger pointing and things of that nature that
Right.
become a distraction from what we really should be discussing. So I appreciate you and your venue for allowing us to have this type of discord and
No
speak
doubt.
things that really matter. So
Yeah, you're welcome, brother.
I applaud you in
Yeah,
what you're
no
doing.
doubt.
Jeremiah, I applaud you in the fact that you sit here and are respectfully holding your ground and coming to and bringing your side of the story. So,
Word.
I would do this again 100 times. If
No
I
doubt, man.
if
Definitely. And I'm
Appreciate
gonna
it,
add
man.
you on Facebook too, man.
yeah, thank you.
Word.
If we can work this way, man, listen,
Word.
we can change the world.
It makes sense, man. I mean, I want to say, to those who's watching, man, and that's what the perspective is all about, man. D.A.P is all about that. I have a lot of conversations a lot on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and we shouldn't let conversations or not agreeing with each other make us enemies. That's horrible, man. We can talk and disagree. It's
Yeah.
okay. I don't have to agree with you and then, not like you. Don't make sense. You know what I mean? I don't have to disagree and not like you. That's what I mean. So until next time, I appreciate you guys again, brother.
All right.
Great job, man. Much
Take
love.
care. Have a great night.
Peace and blessings.
Thank you. Thank you.
You got it. Well, you've been D.A.P. Much love and respect, man. Make sure you do me the favor, go over to YouTube and press subscribe. Also, do me the favor on this page, which is David Adams on Facebook. You can go ahead and subscribe, like, and share. Much love and respect. Peace out.